hurt by the lack of a regulatory framework. And so I have to say, Mr. Speaker, in total contrast to my friends on the other side of the aisle, that's what we're all here for today. Now, Mr. Speaker, I appreciate your continuing reminder to the members in the chamber from engaging in personalities. But it has become a part of our morning routinely. So I have to inquire how long we're going to let this go on.
All right.
I want to make sure this chamber, all the members of the chamber, adhere to Rule 17.
It's getting ready.
Mr. Speaker, I now call on the gentleman, our distinguished chairman of our subcommittee from Kentucky, Mr. Barr, who leads our subcommittee on financial institutions from Kentucky. Mr. Barr is recognized for 4 minutes.
Thank you. Mr. Barr, the gentleman from Kentucky is recognized.
Mr. Speaker, thank you. I rise today in strong support of the passage of the Genius Act, and I want to thank Chairman Hill for his extraordinary leadership, not just in this Congress, but for a long time advocating for this moment. He deserves a tremendous amount of credit for persevering and working and marshaling bipartisan.
Good morning, everybody. How you doing? And welcome to the Oscar Ramos Live. We're going to go long today. 2 days ago, failed. Yesterday, passed. Then it took 11 hours and then passed. 2 procedural votes. HR 580. Today, Genius Act. Clarity Act. They're talking about it for about 2 hours already, so I waited a while. We're going to look at what's going on. We're going to listen. And then later on, we have the White House press secretary. So that's also going to be good. Let's listen up. We have some fantastic clips from Democrats crying. So you want to listen to that one. We got Elizabeth Warren. Who's ready for Elizabeth Warren? Come on, somebody. And right now, Charles Hoskinson, Silvio Micali, Algorand founder, Cardano founder, and many crypto legends were speaking about 2 hours ago at the banking GOP. There's so much going on in Congress right now, and that is why we gotta go all freaking in. Everybody, good morning, welcome. Send it.
Dominance and increased demand in our treasury market. In the Genius Act, stablecoins become pegged to the U.S. dollar and backed by high-quality liquid assets. So, in stark contrast to what my friend, the gentleman from Illinois, was arguing, this actually prevents these other so-called stable coins from actually thriving in the marketplace. That you're going to have stable coins that actually are stable. That's why we need the bill. The gentleman is actually making the argument for us. The gentleman from Illinois. He's making the argument for why he should support the Genius Act because of non-stable stable coins that are out there. Those products will lose ground in the marketplace after we pass the Genius Act. It will ensure that consumers are protected while reaping the benefits of blockchain technology. The Genius Act will allow for scalability to occur in the stablecoin marketplace, ensuring American consumers and businesses have access to this innovative product. Both banks and non-banks can issue stablecoins under the Genius Act, bringing together the best actors in both the traditional finance space and the new era of digital finance. The Genius Act provides that all appropriately regulated banks, including the U.S. Operations of foreign banking organizations, which are supervised by the Federal Reserve, are treated equally to their U.S. peers. This is particularly important with respect to the issuance, reserve, and custody services and bank capital requirements, irrespective of whether they are deposit insured, since the Act prohibits stablecoins from being covered by FDI insurance. A robust, well-regulated stablecoin market eliminates any justification for a government-controlled central bank digital currency, or CBDC, which jeopardizes Americans' access to freedom, privacy, and apolitical private capital. And this is an important point for all of my colleagues on my side of the aisle who share my concern and opposition to a CBDC. If you want to put a dagger in the heart of this crazy surveillance state idea of a central bank digital currency, pass this bill. Vote for this bill. Vote for the Genius Act, which will eliminate all arguments for a CBDC. So with the Genius Act, we will increase the speed and decrease the cost of payments. We will decrease and eliminate friction from our payment system. If all Americans see Housing their deposits via a
Boom.
CBDC at the Federal
Big
Reserve
question
is
in
a
the
risky
House. Big
proposition.
question.
They would be incentivized to pull their
Gentleman's
money out
time's
of.
expired.
Gentlemen, I'll yield the gentleman 15 more seconds.
So just to conclude, we want to avoid eroding the deposit base and starving the private sector of conventional bank financing. So the
Voting is going to happen after, it'd be 20, 30 minutes, maybe an hour. I don't know. That's why I waited to go live, because they've been talking about Clarity and Genius for like an hour and 40 minutes. So you kind of have to listen. These are debates. So they're debating, right? Republican, Democrat. Oh, look at that.
To the gentleman from Ohio, Mr. Davidson, who is the Republican chairman of the National Security Subcommittee.
The gentleman from Ohio is recognized.
I thank the ranking member. I have not seen a perfect bill since I've been in Congress, but this is a pretty good bill. It's an important bill. Regulating stablecoins is long overdue at the federal level. But make no mistake, stablecoins aren't new. The New York Department of Financial Services has regulated stablecoins in the state of New York since 2018. They're time-tested and proven, and they've been stable. It's long overdue for us to provide federal legal clarity here. So why am I speaking in opposition to it? Well, look, my Republican colleagues are exactly right about the stablecoins and the need for regulation. That's why we passed the Stable Act. But my Democratic colleagues are right this time to recognize that the legislative process is broken. And frankly, we all know that. Everyone in the House does. We've seen it broken on lots of things.
Today's a great day.
Here today, we've got a defective product that our legislative process prevented us from fixing. On the product, the Genius Act, we agree. We've got 5 amendments that we want.
Look at this.
It creates the perfect financial tool for drug dealers and tax evaders. Because every time a billionaire cheats on his taxes, a member of the Freedom Caucus earns his wings. I yield back.
He didn't buy Bitcoin. He didn't buy XRP. That guy didn't buy the dip.
Republicans are thankfully united in opposing central bank digital currency, but we should deal with that fully here.
CA
On
XRP,
March 8th
welcome.
of 2023, in a dialogue with Chairman Hill, Federal Reserve Chairman Jerome Powell said that they would need congressional approval for a retail CBDC. But he went on to explain that you could have a layered CBDC, and they're building just that at the Federal Reserve. We should completely turn that off, and that's why we need to pass Emmer's bill. I'll talk about that later. But we also need to protect self-custody, which is the ability for you to move your money directly, person to person, without an intermediary. You won't have direct access to your own money unless you protect it, because government agencies continue to try to ban it, and we need to protect
Gentleman's
it.
time's expired.
We do in clarity, and that's why I oppose the bill.
Mr. Speaker.
Gentleman from Arkansas is recognized.
Mr. Speaker, I yield 1 minute to the gentleman from Pennsylvania, the chairman of our Oversight Committee, Mr. Muser.
The gentleman from Pennsylvania is recognized for 1 minute.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker, and I want to rise today in strong support of
15 minutes.
1582, the Genius Act. I want to thank the chairman of our full Financial Service Committee, Chairman Hill, for his leadership, Chairman Stile for his great work, and also Whip Emmer and so many on in our committee and our colleagues in the Senate for their work in this legislation. I also want to recognize President Trump's administration, crypto czar David Sachs, SEC Chair Paul Atkins, for their efforts to reverse the Biden-era irrational opposition and misguided regulations that we lived with for 4 years towards innovation, and now we are setting America back on a pro-growth, America First course. Mr. Speaker, the Senate's legislation built on 2 years of groundwork by the House, crafting a framework for stable coins that protects consumers, the dollar, unleashes private sector innovation.
Listen to this one.
Blockchain technology, Web3, will transform every single industry in the same way that the internet has transformed every single industry over the last 30 years. Blockchain technology, Web3, will transform.
When we say you have to go all in, we do mean it. We have less than 600 million crypto users in 2025. In 2002, 23 years ago, there were 560, 580 million internet users. Do you really want to wait 23 years from now? Do you really want to wait for 2047 to buy crypto? You tell me in the comments how much you think XRP is going to be in 2040, almost 50 from now. Do you really want to run that risk? Do you really want to wait in your Roth IRA 401k and believe that that's going to get you out of, I mean, that's the way we go all in right now. Simple.
25, World Liberty Financial launched a dollar pegged stablecoin just 1 week before the House Financial Services Committee marked up stablecoin legislation, and 2 weeks after Senate colleagues held their markup. On March 31st, Eric Trump and Donald Trump Jr.'s American data centers merged
Maxine.
with American Bitcoin, a Bitcoin mining operation. On July 8th, Trump Media and Technology Group, the company that operates the Truth social media platform, announced that it had filed paperwork with the SEC to launch the crypto blue chip ETF later this year. Now let's add all of this up. Since January of this year, President Trump and his family have launched or planning to launch 6 different crypto ventures. 6.
Of course.
Congressional Republicans
More
and
to come.
the crypto industry will state that these conflicts of interest take away from the discussion on other parts of the bill. They claim that this bill is good for consumers and investors. Well, let me tell you, it is not. It is good for Trump's family and wealthy crypto investors. They can afford to see themselves through an FTX-type collapse. No one,
really?
not a Republican or a Democrat, should be using their office to make themselves richer while everyday Americans are struggling
You guys
to buy
already did
groceries
it.
and pay for their health care. Everyday Americans are simply trying to survive thanks to Republican
You don't want us to win?
policies while President
Normal
Trump
people?
and his billionaire boys club thrive in
We're
the
trying to
economy.
get out of
It's
fiat.
simple. If people want to know why members of Congress can't simply exclude the president and the vice president, why do they keep them in both of the bills as owners of crypto? Why did they avoid my amendment that would take them out? I don't believe that the president, the vice president, his cabinet, his family, or any members of Congress should be owners of crypto. And I certainly don't believe that the office of the presidency should be used by anybody, any president, now or in the future, to be the owners of crypto. With that, I reserve the balance of my time.
The gentleman reserves. The gentleman from Arkansas is recognized.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. I want to yield 2 minutes to the gentleman from Nebraska, Mr. Flood, who chairs our subcommittee on housing and insurance.
Nebraska.
The gentleman from Nebraska is recognized.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker, and thank you, Chairman Hill. I've been working on this since I was in the Nebraska legislature. Back in 2021, I passed the Nebraska Financial Innovation Act, making our state the second state to allow state-chartered banks to custody digital assets, mostly stablecoins. These stablecoins have the ability to greatly increase not only the speed of payments and settlements, but to also make our economic system even more efficient. Stablecoins will also support the advancement of the U.S. dollar around the globe.
Can he
We
say
may often take it for
RUZ?
granted, but most of the transactions around the globe rely on a currency backed by the U.S. dollar. That could change if we don't adopt laws like this. Who steps in? Adversaries like China. We want to have a presence on the continent of Africa. That is the next frontier. This assures us of that. In the early days, caution was certainly prudent.
Chipper in the house.
Stablecoins are a novel technology with significant questions regarding how to protect consumers, what happens in the event of a bankruptcy, how to ensure that the issuers live up to the technology's namesake by providing a truly stable asset, the dollar. That's why we've been working in our committee the last several years. Similarly, the Senate has been running through their process. Let me be clear, this bill is not perfect. With my experience in Nebraska, I have been a strident supporter of a strong, robust state pathway for issuers. This bill has a state pathway, but it's capped at $10 billion asset threshold. I personally much prefer Congressman Brian Stiles' Stable Act to this Senate product. However, despite my personal preferences, this bill absolutely provides a comprehensive and safe federal framework for stablecoin regulation. In order to usher in a new era of blockchain innovation, we need to pass the Genius Act so our regulators can get to work implementing a comprehensive stablecoin framework. With that, I yield back.
The gentleman yields back.
I reserve, Mr. Speaker.
The gentleman reserves. The gentlewoman from California is recognized.
I request unanimous consent to enter the following letters from organizations who oppose this terrible bill. The AFL-CIO, who is scoring this vote. Americans for Financial Reform, who is leading 78 investor, consumer, religious, and civil rights groups and public citizens. With that, I reserve the balance of my time.
Without objection, the gentleman from Arkansas.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. I yield 1 minute to the gentleman from New Jersey, a distinguished member on the House Financial Services Committee, Mr. Gottheimer.
The gentleman from New Jersey is recognized.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker, and I rise in support of the Bipartisan Genius Act. This legislation builds on the bicameral negotiations that Chairman Hill, former Chairman McHenry, Chairman Stile, and I, and so many others have worked so hard on for the past years. The Genius Act is smart bipartisan legislation that backs stablecoins through U.S. dollar on a one-to-one basis and allows states to make future safeguards to further protect consumers.
PJ Lucas in the house.
As I said, protects consumers and gives clear rules of the road to allow America to lead the way in a space that is key to our economy.
When are you going to go all in on XRP? When? At 4? At 350? Are we going back to $2? When?
American innovation. As I said before, when we're talking about the Clarity Act, the question is, do you want some rules of the road or no rules of the road? To vote against this bill and to vote against the Clarity Act, it's irresponsible if you want to make sure that the Trump coin has oversight, that you want to make sure that the consumers are protected. It's, I don't know, will the gentleman yield 15 more seconds?
15 more seconds.
And I just think it's critical to not pass this legislation is deeply irresponsible because it'll allow the Wild West to continue. This will protect consumers, ensure that the Trump coin and others have protection, are overseen with protection and oversight from the CFTC, from the SEC.
Expired.
It's critically important to protecting consumers and to protecting our country.
I reserve.
The gentleman reserves.
Someone say XRP and that's it. We go to the
gentleman from California recognized.
Welcome, 3,000 people and more.
Let me just reiterate, it's irresponsible to turn
that you still are in Congress. That's what's irresponsible.
The President of the United States, and I continue to reserve the balance of my time.
The gentlewoman reserves. The gentleman from Arkansas is recognized.
Mr. Speaker, I want to yield 2 minutes to my friend, the gentleman from Georgia, Mr. Carter.
The gentleman from Georgia is recognized for 2 minutes.
I thank the gentleman for yielding. Mr. Speaker, I rise today to voice my support for Senate Bill 1582, the Genius Act of 2025, which will provide a clear regulatory framework for the issuance of stablecoins in the U.S. This bipartisan, industry-supported bill will finally give the stablecoin asset class clear rules of the road for the issuance and use of digital assets. The Genius Act will establish standards so issuers are credible and stablecoins are quality assets in a rapidly innovating digital market. I would like to thank the Senate for passing this bill and getting into the House so quickly. I encourage all my colleagues to vote in support of the Genius Act. This is a vital step in keeping America the pinnacle of financial innovation. Let's make the U.S. the crypto capital of the world. Thank you,
Yes.
Mr. Speaker, and I yield back.
The gentleman yields back. The gentleman from Arkansas is recognized. The gentleman from Arkansas reserves.
I'll
Gentlewoman from
continue to
California is
reserve the balance
recognized.
of my time.
Gentlewoman reserves.
Thank you, Mr.
Gentleman from
Speaker.
Arkansas.
I yield 1 minute to the gentleman from Virginia, Mr. Vindman.
The gentleman from Virginia is recognized for 1 minute.
As Vice Ranking Member of the Commodity Markets, Digital Assets, and Rural Development Subcommittee of the House Agriculture Committee, I rise today in support of both the Clarity and Genius Act. These bills aren't perfect, but digital innovation in our economy is critical to our economy, and I support a regulatory framework that protects consumers and the financial system. However, I am concerned the ability for certain officials to use these assets for self-enrichment at the highest levels of our government. These bills ensure members of Congress and many other government officials must abide by ethics rules that we expect from government.
Listen to this clown.
It's customary when we consider major legislation to give credit to those who created the bill. The ghost of Sam Bankman-Fried looms above this auditorium. He is the genius behind the Genius Act, and one can only hope that he's able to watch C-SPAN on a black and white television set in his prison cell. You don't have to be a genius to know that this bill is an attack on working families. That's why the AFL-CIO says no, and they are scoring it. They call it stablecoin. It's not stable. It's not a coin. It's a money market account that under this law must pay 0% interest. So who wants to forgo a 4% rate of return and get a 0% return in stablecoin? Those who are desperate for what cryptocurrency offers. Cryptocurrency literally means hidden money, and these stablecoins are exempt from the anti-money laundering provisions. Thus, it meets the needs perfectly of drug dealers, human traffickers, sanctions evaders, those who are hiding assets from their former spouses, and tax evaders. And just to be clear, the Republicans rejected unanimously in committee a provision to prevent mixers. Mixers are devices whose sole purpose is to defeat even top law enforcement efforts pursuant to a warrant, and under this bill, they can't. The mixers will be used to defeat law enforcement. Republicans claim to be against crime in the streets, but they're creating a device whose sole purpose is to facilitate crime in the suites. Page 43 of this bill contains a provision maintaining the eligibility of stablecoins for bailouts under a facility created under Section 13.3 of the Federal Reserve Act. Now, Jay...
They're closing.
To you.
All right.
I yield myself the
California's
balance of the
recognized.
time. Let me again reiterate. A vote for SB 1582 is a
Here she
vote to
comes.
give Trump the pen to write the rules that would put more money in his family's pocket. A vote to S 1582 is a vote for consumer harm. A vote for S 1582 is a vote to plant the seeds for the next financial crisis. A vote for S 1582 is a vote to endanger our national security. That is why I will be voting no on S 1582.
No way.
the
You
Genius
didn't know
Act,
that?
And I urge all other members to also vote no. I yield back the balance of my time.
Yes.
The gentlewoman yields back. The gentleman from Arkansas is recognized.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. I yield myself such time as I may consume in my closing, and I yield myself the remainder of my time.
The gentleman's recognized.
Voting
let me
is
start
coming.
by saying that we're here on the floor. We've heard a vigorous debate about dollar-backed payment stable coins. Our committee has worked under both Democratic leadership, under Mrs. Waters, and under Republican leadership to research this, talk about it, think about it, have hearings about it for over 5 years now. And we come to the House floor today with a bill before us that, while not perfect, is a good bill, as been evidenced by our speakers on the floor. S 1582, the Genius Act, is a simple bipartisan bill that's long overdue and is based on that bipartisan work in both chambers. Wow, we're actually legislating. We're seeing bills passed in both chambers. It's exciting for me to see the good work of my friend Chairman Tim Scott of the Banking Committee in leading a policy-driven effort to put America's financial leadership first. S-1582, as written by Bill Hagerty, does exactly that. And Mr. Speaker, 68 senators voted for this bill in the United States Senate.
Beautiful.
68.
Yep.
A quote, cloture-proof margin is only 60. 68 senators came together, including 18 Democrats who vigorously debated this bill, worked on this bill, improved this bill, modified it, and sent it to us in the House.
Pump it up.
Likewise, Chairman Stile here in the House worked with those senators on both sides of the aisle all along the way to take the ideas that we had here in the House and our markup and our Stable Act and improve Genius. So with this legislation today on a bipartisan basis, we're modernizing our financial infrastructure, streamlining transactions, lowering costs, expanding financial tools for everyday Americans. This is about putting American innovation first. It's about creating a future where innovation is met with clarity, not confusion, where American ingenuity is empowered, not stifled by an outdated, not fit-for-purpose regulatory regime. The Genius Act will help maintain U.S. global leadership in financial technology, digital innovation, the power of the reserve currency, the United States dollar, while reinforcing important consumer protections and critical regulatory oversight where it's needed most. This is common sense, forward-looking legislation that reminds me of the earliest days of this House chamber agreeing in 1996 not to tax or regulate the internet, but to tax and regulate how people use the internet. This is a keen example of that principles-based legislation. I urge all my colleagues on both sides of the aisle to support the Genius Act, and I yield back.
The gentleman yields back.
There you go.
Pursuant to House Rule 580, the previous question is ordered on the bill. The question on third reading of the bill, those in favor say aye. All those opposed say no. The ayes have it. Third reading. Read the
An act to provide for regulation of payment stablecoins and for other purposes.
The question on the passage of the bill, all those in favor say aye. Aye. All those opposed say no. The ayes have it. The bill is passed. Gentlewoman from California is recognized.
So what?
What?
Ask for the yeas and nays.
The yeas and nays are requested. Those favoring a vote of the yeas and nays will rise. If a sufficient number have risen, the yeas and nays are ordered.
Here it comes.
Pursuant to Clause 8, Rule 20, further proceedings of this question will be postponed.
Yeas and nays again, fam.
For what purpose does the gentleman from Arkansas rise?
Mr. Speaker, pursuant to House Resolution 580, I now call up H.R. 1919 and ask for its immediate consideration in the House.
The clerk will read the title of the bill.
Union Calendar Number 66, H.R. 1919, a bill to amend the Federal Reserve Act to prohibit the Federal Reserve banks from offering certain products or services directly to an individual, to prohibit the use of central bank digital currency for monetary policy and for other purposes.
Pursuant to House Resolution 580, the amendment in the nature of the substitute recommended by the Committee of Financial Services is printed in the bill, is adopted, and the bill as amended is considered read. The bill as amended shall be debated for 1 hour, equally divided by the chair and the ranking minority member of the Committee on Financial Services or their respective designees. The gentleman from Arkansas, Mr. Hill, and the gentlewoman from California, Ms. Walters, will each control 30 minutes. The chair recognizes the gentleman from Arkansas, Mr. Hill.
I thank the Speaker.
They finished Clarity Act about 2 hours ago. They just finished Genius Act. So Clarity Act, they just finished Genius Act, and now they're talking about CBDC. So this is now CBDC Federal Reserve. Listen.
This House chamber, we debated it in the last Congress. It's had the outstanding leadership, support, and advocacy by our majority whip here in the House, Mr. Tom Emmer of Minnesota, and I rise in strong support. At stake is a fundamental choice about the future of money in America, a choice between freedom or government control. Central bank digital currencies, or CBDCs, put the government at the center of every financial transaction, monitoring, controlling, and possibly restricting how Americans could use their own hard-earned money. As American government-controlled digital dollar threatens to open the door to government overreach here at home. It would threaten individual privacy and stifle innovation by undermining progress that we've seen from private sector solutions like we just talked about on this House floor, privately issued U.S. dollar-backed payment stablecoins. That is a continuation of the evolution of the private sector guiding the expanse of our money, how we use our money to make payments. Formerly starting out with cash, we wrote checks, we used debit cards and ATM cards at the point of sale, we use credit cards, we can send money by wire transfer or by an electronic check. And so the private sector has innovated all along that continuum of financial technology, and that's why today we don't want the Fed to drive that, to potentially control it, to issue it, for individuals to bank at the Fed and be subject to these risks to privacy or surveillance. Let's stick with the approach of private sector solutions. We've already seen small glimpses of this possibility under the prior administration. House Financial Services Subcommittee Chair for Oversight and Investigations, Dan Muser of Pennsylvania, has been having a robust discussion about the debanking policies of the prior administration for politically disfavored industries. The capability for the government then to follow on and directly freeze or delete Americans' funds on a whim, it's not compatible with our values, with our cherished freedoms, or our way of life, or even the past approach to the evolution of payments in our country. Moreover, a government-run digital dollar would put the Federal Reserve potentially in direct competition with the private sector. Further, a CBDC would create unnecessary risks by consolidating financial power within the federal government, limiting choice and threatening the very innovation that made American financial markets the strongest in the world. For all these reasons, I'm thankful that consistently my friend, our colleague, Majority Whip Tom Emmer, has been leading the charge to prohibit the implementation of a U.S. central bank digital currency. And I thank him for the work he's done to elevate this issue in the Congress and bring this bill before us once again for a vote on this House floor. I hope all my colleagues can recognize that Article 1 determines how we issue money and how we value it, that that's a power of the Congress, and that we're not delegating it to the executive. We control that in Article 1. This bill says that you can't issue a CBDC without that specific, explicit authority and direction from the Congress. I urge all my colleagues to join me in supporting Mr. Emmer's bill, and I reserve.
The gentleman from Arkansas reserves. The gentlewoman from California is recognized.
Maxine, where you at?
I yield myself such time as I may consume. Over the last hours, we heard arguments from the other side of the aisle that the United States must prioritize innovation. The Republican crypto bills we considered will create giant loopholes in our federal financial laws that put consumers and investors at risk in the name of innovation. These bills would increase the chance of another costly financial crisis like the one in 2008 that led to trillions of dollars of wealth being wiped out in the name of innovation. So it comes as no surprise to me. So if it comes as a surprise to me that the last bill we will debate would block any research, pilots, or consideration about how to digitize the U.S. dollar. It is the reason that I call H.R. 1919 the Anti-Innovation Act. Now, we've been discussing a lot about cryptocurrency. We've talked about two different acts, the Clarity Act, the Genius Act. We've talked about a lot of the intricacies of crypto. But the general public does not understand all of this because the big
That's why
issuers,
we're here
the
to
big
help.
boys, literally kind of own all of the information. They're the issuers, et cetera, et cetera. It's time for the United States government to take charge. And our central bank must be involved in the study and the research so that we don't have issuing crypto or anything else without the federal government knowing and being in control. H.R. 1919 would immediately halt and prohibit the United States from any research and exploring the potential benefits of a central bank currency or CBDC.
You say Ripple, please.
Bank
And we
digital
forgive you.
currency is essentially
Say
a
Ripple and we
digital
forgive
version
you. That's
of
it.
the dollar issued by the federal government that uses crypto technology known as blockchain to record everything and everybody who owns tokens. Open it up, let's know who the big issuers are. There are two types of CBDCs, and this bill bans both of them. A retail CBDC is made available to consumers directly from the Federal Reserve or from a bank or other financial institutions. A wholesale CBDC is not available to the public, but only to the banks and other financial institutions. This bill would ban both this kind of CBDC. Now, when Republicans raise concerns about CBDCs, they're talking about retail CBDCs. But because they're so adverse to knowledge, adverse to studying things, they have no idea that their bill blocks research into other forms of digitizing the dollar that would truly cut costs for the people. For example, J.P. Morgan Chase has estimated that $100 billion could be saved in cross-border transactions every year if a wholesale CBDC is adopted.
Ripple.
Now, earlier this week,
That's
in the Rules
literally
Committee, we heard
what
Republicans
XRP
claim
does.
that we need to weaken oversight of private crypto.
That's literally what
because
we
doing
do.
so will help cross-border payments. So I would ask my colleagues
No
across
way,
the aisle,
bro.
why abandon any research into making the greenback ready for the future? The thing is, if this bill passes, the United States would be the only country in the world to ban any research in the world on CBDCs. What are you afraid of? Why don't you want the knowledge to be held and explained?
That's the thing, bro. It's like
137 countries are racing
not
ahead,
expecting the government
some
to teach me
studying,
crypto.
Others issuing their own CDBCs. The foreign courtesy markets are
We do
evolving,
our own
but
research,
Republicans
woman.
want to stick their heads in the sand.
I
Those
don't need you to
137
tell
countries
me.
and currency unions represent 98% of the global GDP, and China is one of the front
Tim in the
runners
house.
in the global
Eric in the
race
house.
to implement a
Thank you,
viable
fam.
CBDC. And do you know why China is quickly rolling out its digital currency? It desperately wants to create an alternative to the U.S. dollar to determine the dominance of our currency. Mr. Speaker, America reaps great riches because our currency, the dollar, is the primacy currency used around the world for all sorts of trade, from sales of oil to commodities to financial contracts. One of those benefits is that when we take out a loan to buy a car or use our credit cards, our interest rates are much lower than in other countries. Another benefit
Dark Rider
is
in the
that
house.
the
Thank
United
you, brother.
States can pressure
Thank you, thank you.
bad actors from Iran to Russia to China by cutting off access to our financial system and the dollar using sanctions. But those same countries would love to replace the dollar with their currency or something else. One way China hopes to do this is to show that the dollar is an antiquated currency, whereas the Chinese currency is the future. It is so short-sighted to not even study how the dollar could be digitized, especially during the same week that Republicans want to let private companies create their own currency. And so, it is very important for all of us to understand that if you want to be innovative, if you want innovation, you will study, you will understand, you will be able to explain. If you really want to protect the American dollar, you will not put your head in the sand. You would allow this research to go on to make sure that the American dollar stays strong, even in digital. I reserve the balance of my time.
The gentlewoman from California reserves. The gentleman from Arkansas is recognized.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. I'd ask unanimous consent that I could insert in the record the Congressional Budget Office estimate for this bill.
Without objection.
Thank you. Mr. Speaker, I'd like to ask our distinguished chair of our subcommittee on financial technology and digital assets and artificial intelligence, Mr. Stile of Wisconsin, to address this bill for 2.5 minutes.
The gentleman from Wisconsin is recognized.
I thank my friend Chairman Hill. I rise in strong support of the Anti-CBDC Surveillance Act. And I want to thank Whip Emmer for his leadership on this issue. He's actually one of the first in Congress to raise the alarm.
Welcome,
and since
fam.
then, the case has only grown stronger about the risks posed by U.S. CBDC. Mr. Speaker, the globe and the global economy is at a crossroads when it comes to digital payments. Jurisdictions around the world are upgrading their payment systems to be faster, to be cheaper, and cross-border. The payment sector is leading the way, including payment stablecoins, to enhance the payment rails. As the United States grapples with modernizing our own payment systems, we're confronted with a choice. Do we empower free market solutions that protect privacy, protect individual liberty, or do we centralize control over payments in the hands of the federal government? To me, Mr. Speaker, the choice is clear. Federal Reserve Governor Christopher Waller has repeatedly warned that a CBDC is, quote, a solution in search of a problem. Yet nonetheless, Mr. Speaker, in 2022 Executive Order on Responsible Development of Digital Assets, President Biden sought to explore a U.S. central bank digital currency, placing, quote, the highest urgency on research and development efforts into the potential design and development options of a United States CBDC. But President Trump understands a CBDC's threat to American freedoms. In his January 2025 executive order, President Trump explicitly prohibited any federal agency from issuing or advancing a CBDC without direct congressional authorization.
Democrats
In a
keep
free
talking about
society,
Trump,
Mr. Speaker,
corruption.
financial
You just want to see
privacy
the answer,
and
corruption.
private property rights
Thank
must
you, buddy.
be
Appreciate it, Andre.
protected.
Welcome.
The American economy thrives on choice, competition, and liberty, not on coercion and control. I urge members to support this bill in preserving liberty, protecting privacy, and ensuring the United States of America is a global leader in financial innovation. I yield back.
The gentleman from Wisconsin yields back. The gentleman from Arkansas reserves. The gentlewoman from California, you're
I
recognized.
now yield 3 minutes to the gentleman from Massachusetts, Mr. Lynch, who is also the ranking member of the Subcommittee on Digital Assets, Financial Technology, and Artificial Intelligence. He knows more about digital assets than anybody on the opposite side of the aisle.
The gentleman
Oh,
from Massachusetts is recognized for 3 minutes.
I
okay.
thank the gentlelady for her confidence and her time. I rise in strong opposition to H.R.
Thought that was
1919,
Ripple.
the so-called Anti-CBDC Surveillance Act. At the expense of U.S. global economic leadership, this misguided legislation would prevent the Federal Reserve from issuing a central bank digital currency, also known as a CBDC. Unfortunately, the facts surrounding the development of CBDC has been obscured by disinformation, conspiracy theories, and extreme political ideology. Republicans and the crypto industry have made unfounded claims that a CBDC will be used as a surveillance tool by the federal government. Let's be clear about what a CBDC is. a publicly issued digital dollar that would be regulated by the Federal Reserve, an independent Federal Reserve, that would have the full faith and backing of the U.S. government. A CBDC would serve as an alternative to existing forms of payment and will have benefits including instant payment settlement, provide a medium for cross-border transactions, and foster greater financial inclusion. And Congress could require that the architecture of a central bank digital currency not have surveillance capabilities. More than 130 countries are or have been studying, or they have launched their own government-backed digital currencies, including every major world power. Meanwhile, the U.S. remains far behind amid an increasingly and blatant misinformation campaign about the features of a digital currency. Let's talk about the EU. It is widely acknowledged that the EU has one of the most stringent data protection regimes and protection laws on the planet. They have strict data protections, number one, on the GDPR. They have access, so European citizens, EU citizens have access to control of their personal data. They have the right to be forgotten, which would prevent data surveillance and surveillance of citizens. And they have strict penalties for companies that violate their personal data rights. The United States could have the same in a U.S. digital currency. There's a widening gap between the U.S. and its G7 peers, all of whom have far more advanced CBDC projects than the U.S. I'll go back to the EU. The EU is in the final stages of a pilot retail CBDC program already. So far ahead of us. They're going to capture the future if we adopt this bill. The U.S. government has always led the way in harnessing technology to promote innovation. Look at DARPA and NASA space programs, clear examples of what happens when the U.S. invests in research and development. While concerns about data privacy could be real, we have the ability to protect that data in any architecture that we adopt. It's counterintuitive that my colleagues would be raising concerns about data privacy while thousands of private companies are scooping up data every single day. Vote no on this bill. I yield back.
The gentleman from Arkansas is recognized.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. I'd like to yield 4 minutes to the gentleman from Kentucky, the chair of our House Financial Institutions Subcommittee, Mr. Barr.
Absolutely. The gentleman from Kentucky is recognized.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. I rise in strong support of my friend from Minnesota, Whip Emmer's bill, the Anti-CBDC Surveillance State Act, a bill I'm proud to co-sponsor. This bill would prohibit the Federal Reserve from issuing a central bank digital currency or a CBDC to anyone. Now, I don't think the Federal Reserve has the authority to do this. In fact, a cursory, simple review of the Federal Reserve Act shows that the Federal Reserve does not have the legal authority to issue a CBDC to individuals absent explicit authorizing legislation from Congress. The Supreme Court has also recognized Congress's power to coin money and regulate the value thereof, implicitly denying to the executive branch or to the Fed the ability to do this without congressional authority. That said, I think it's prudent to explicitly deprive the Fed of the authority to do this for a variety of reasons. As has been said, Americans' financial privacy is at stake here. And we should not try to compete with China by becoming more like China. The argument for a CBDC that, oh no, Beijing is doing this, we should do it too. Why on earth would we want to imitate, emulate, or copy Beijing's surveillance state authoritarianism? And to my friend on the other side of the aisle who just made the argument, oh, we're behind. The European Central Bank is doing this. When have we in this country, the United States of America, wanted to emulate Europe? This is America. We do it the American way, not the European way, not the Chinese way, not the communist socialist way. We do it the free enterprise way. We do it the limited government way. We do it the way to honor Americans' privacy through the
James Rule. Thank you, brother. Appreciate it. Welcome, brother. Thank you.
That's the way we should do it. That's the way we should lead in innovation. And so, yes, personal privacy is at stake. Surveillance of Americans' individual financial transactions through a CBDC does raise serious privacy concerns. And concerns about government control and politicization of loans, online payments, credit scores, tax compliance, federal contracts, monetary policy, and the like. But in addition to these privacy concerns, a central bank digital currency would centralize Americans' finances, eroding the banking deposit base. That would decrease competition and choice. And this is a big concern that I have, that a CBDC would substantially decrease the availability of credit and increase the cost of financial services and products for consumers, destroying our conventional traditional banking system. Our banking system, in contrast to Europe, in contrast to China, is the envy of the world due to its free market principles, its dynamism, and its diversity. Banks of all different sizes serve customers, communities, businesses with all different needs, and capitalism promotes market demand, which incentivizes banks to offer products that fit the needs of their consumers at the best price possible. We don't want to eliminate that. We don't want to erode the deposit base with a CBDC. So I ask you, Mr. Speaker, would we truly want to lose the benefits of a diverse banking system that makes the U.S. the global leader in the financial system? Do we want to take actions to be more like China or Europe and decrease Americans' right to privacy? I went to the European Central Bank. I heard them lecture us about a CBDC, and it made me more convinced than ever that we don't want to be like Europe. The answer is we do not want to be like Europe. We do not want to be like the communists in Beijing. We must not disintermediate our banking system and allow for a creation of a CBDC. We must not threaten Americans' access to privacy. That's why I support this legislation and urge all my colleagues to do so as well. And if you really don't like a CBDC, to my Republican colleagues, vote for the Genius Act, which takes away all the arguments for it. I yield back.
Time's expired.
Mr. Speaker, I reserve.
Gentleman reserves. The gentlelady from California is recognized.
Thank you. I now yield 3 minutes to the gentleman from Connecticut, Mr. Himes, who is also the ranking member of the Permanent Select Committee on Intelligence.
Thank you, ma'am. The gentleman from Connecticut is recognized.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker, and I thank the gentle lady from California for this opportunity to speak, because this is one of the most ignorant things I have seen this House produce in a very, very long time. And it stuns me, frankly, that my good friends, Congressman Hill and Stile and Barr, are associating themselves with this bill. Let's be super clear about this. Nobody knows whether a CBDC is a good idea. A couple years ago, I wrote a white paper on CBDC, and I concluded that it's not clear. And the arguments for and against are being mooted today. Yes, it could be abused by an overwhelming executive. If we had a president that, for example, showed disdain for the Constitution, that was comfortable acting illegally, that wasn't comfortable with judicial rulings. It's hard for us to imagine that president, but this could be abused. It could be used for monetary policy, bad idea. It could be used for taxation, bad idea. It could also, by the way, be a trusted electronic currency for an unbanked population. It could be a way of supporting the primacy of the American dollar. I don't know. And the truth is that nobody on that side of the aisle or this side of the aisle knows either. But we're going to forbid any inquiry around this to figure out whether it's a good idea or a bad idea. We're going to say you can't even research it. Stunning definition of ignorance. Imagine if we had said electricity is scary 100 years ago. It can kill you. It's produced by burning coal, which is dangerous. So we're going to not research electricity or atomic power or the automobile. Tens of thousands of Americans die every year because of the automobile. We don't know.
Thank you,
and
Garrett.
the majority says, let's not
Welcome,
learn, because they have some ideological fixation that, frankly, I don't understand. 200 years ago, the private sector, which my friends on the other side of the aisle hold up, had issued currency. It was called scrip. Companies and banks issued their own currency, and this country learned that that was a terrible idea, and that in fact the central bank should issue currency, which is one of the reasons we are who we are today. So you might give the CBD at least some benefit of the doubt instead of being ignorant about whether we want to know the truth. We need to stop this. We held this institution up for 2 days over a bizarre MAGA obsession which is rooted in insanity and ignorance. Don't even find out the answer. The ranking member said that this is, like a boy who is hiding from the truth. I have another metaphor. This is like a young 5-year-old who's angry and covers his eyes and ears and believes he's invisible. Imagine just my good friend Andy Barr saying, we're not like China, we're not like Europe. What if there's a sterling or
The gentleman's time has
I
expired.
yield to the gentleman an additional minute.
I thank the ranking member.
The gentleman is recognized.
For all the rah-rah patriotism, think about this. And again, I'll acknowledge that we don't know if this is a good idea or a bad idea, and we ought to find out. But let's imagine that the European Union, which Mr. Barr wants to dissociate with himself with, puts out a CBD that picks up real usage. Now all of a sudden we have a threat to the dollar because we're still handing around pieces of paper because the Republican majority said we shouldn't even research something that may or may not be a good part of a modern 21st century economy. Come on, guys. Don't go with ignorance. You're too smart for that. Don't risk putting us behind on something that could be really important to the future of the American dollar. Vote no on this ignorant bill. I yield back.
Gentleman yields. The gentleman from Arkansas is recognized.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. I want to yield 3 minutes to the gentleman from Ohio, Mr. Davidson, who is the chair of our National Security Subcommittee.
Thank you, sir. Mr. Davidson, you are recognized.
Thank you so much. Central bank digital currency poses an existential threat to Western civilization. It's essentially, at its heart, communist banking. Elizabeth Warren, Sherrod Brown, and Democrats in the Senate didn't walk around Omarova to be confirmed as a bank regulator because they were opposed to communist banking. They want it. And that's what central bank digital currency is. Our colleagues on the other side of this debate act like we need to study communism a little harder to figure out whether it works or not. We've got plenty of evidence. It doesn't work. Central bank digital currency inserts government between you and your money. The government, another word for central bank digital currency is programmable money. Well, who does the programming?
Thank you, brother.
The central bank.
Welcome.
They can condition your access to your own money.
Thanks, man.
With
Appreciate
whatever
it, man.
parameters they put in place. They can filter transactions. They can even set them to expire. And monetary policy wonks in the communist banking world think this is a feature, not a flaw. They think that they could set your access to your money to expire, that it would be a better future. Every dystopian fiction that I have found, Brave New World, 1984, says this is the future of money, that it's corrupted into a tool for surveillance, coercion, and control. And frankly, our own current banking systems crept too close to that. We need to turn the other direction. And the market's telling us that. That's why cryptocurrency was invented, frankly. That's why it's so popular and it's a growing asset class. We need to say no to this, and we need to protect what the market is telling us consumers want. And we tested this under the Biden administration. They decided that they were going to spy on your bank accounts if you had $600 in your bank. And the public said, whoa, what? Why are you spying on my bank account? And in a communist world, they say, well, if you have nothing to hide, then why should you have anything to fear? But that's not our way of life in this country. The Fourth Amendment doesn't say that. It says if you have probable cause, and only then you get a warrant. Here, you build in the surveillance into the program. And look, I get it. If all men were angels, this would never be abused, but we know they're not. We've seen massive abuse in our own country, but in Canada, we saw Trudeau, a fellow traveler on the communist Long March, want to ban people's access to their own bank accounts because they were protesting his COVID policies at trucker rallies. This is very easy to do when you have programmable money. We need to say no to this. It is an existential threat to our way of life, and ideally we would do it at every opportunity. I urge all our colleagues to vote for Mr. Emmer's bill and stop this threat to our way of life. I yield back.
Gentleman yields.
I reserve, Mr. Speaker.
Gentleman reserves. The gentlelady from California is recognized.
Thank you. I now yield 3 minutes to the gentleman from California, Mr. Sherman, who is also the ranking member of the Subcommittee on Capital Markets.
The gentleman from California is recognized.
Oh, here he comes. Here he comes. This guy, he's a clown. Get ready. Get ready.
I worked hard in school, but the grade I'm proudest of is to be the first member of this House to get an F from the crypto industry. Article 1, Section 8 of the U.S. Constitution says that it's the federal government and Congress who should coin money and determine the value thereof. But our Republican friends tell us that that means that the federal government should be stuck with 1776 technology while the competitors of the dollar race forward in the 21st century. The largest super PAC expenditures in history occurred last year. The crypto industry spent more on independent expenditures. Take a look at this. You combine all of the expenditures from big oil plus big pharma, put them together, multiply by 5, and you still don't have what the crypto industry did last year. And so it's not surprising that we hear words like freedom, innovation, choice, and competitiveness used to justify making money for the crypto bros, and now we have a bill designed to prevent freedom, innovation, choice, and competitiveness when it poses a risk to their profits. This bill not only prevents us from ever having a digital dollar, it prevents us from even studying a digital dollar. Now, I think Americans will always have banks, credit cards, debit cards, Zelle, Venmo, cash, money market funds, and pursuant to the bill that it looks like we're going to pass today, they'll have stablecoin, a privacy device specifically designed for criminals and tax evaders. And then they'll have mixers to make it impossible for even the most advanced law enforcement, even with a warrant, to find out what's happening. So they have all those choices. What's the one choice you're not allowed to have? You're not allowed to have the currency provided for in the U.S. Constitution. You're not allowed to have a digital dollar or even a study of a digital dollar. You're not allowed to, if you don't want to carry a lot of paper around, you can't have the full faith and credit of the United States. Now, we've talked about the role of the U.S. dollar and the critical role that it plays in international transactions and why that is a major economic benefit to the United States. The crypto bros occasionally tell you out loud what they're thinking, and that is they want to minimize and destroy the role of the U.S. dollar internationally. So what do they do to hobble the dollar? They say the Chinese Communist Party can have a digital yuan. The Bitcoin bros can have a digital currency. But America is limited to 1776 technology.
No,
our banking
by
system
Bitcoin,
is the envy of the
by
world
XRP.
because we innovate. This
There it
bill
is.
says no innovation. It
Comes to show that they don't want you to get something else but fiat. Fiat.
I reserve the balance of my time.
The gentleman's time has expired.
Oh, I'm sorry, additional minute for the gentleman, Mr. Sherman.
The gentleman is recognized for 1 additional minute.
Look, now you might think it's hypocritical that they tell us we have to have crypto because otherwise China will do it. Then they say we can't have a digital dollar because China is doing it. That's not inconsistent. They are consistent. Their consistent rule is you must do what makes profit for the crypto bros, including Donald Trump, and you must prevent them from facing any competition, even the competition called for by the U.S.
But making money is bad, according to him.
Today's bills in whole, all three of them, will create a payment system designed for tax evaders and criminals. It will provide for taxpayer bailouts, and it will allow the crypto industry to say we've got all this power in Congress. Crypto bailouts are not only allowed, they're guaranteed. It'll provide an avenue for foreign interests to provide hidden money. Cryptocurrency literally means hidden money, into Trump's personal pocket, and is designed to allow taxpayer money to be used to buy Bitcoin and Trump coin. And finally, it takes our freedom, and it says you can have freedom to have a digital currency only if you do it in a way that enriches the crypto bros. No choice for Americans who want a digital dollar. I yield back.
The gentleman yields. The gentleman from Arkansas is recognized.
Thank the Speaker. I want to have the pleasure to introduce the author of this important legislation and yield 4.5 minutes to the Majority Whip of the U.S. House of Representatives, Mr. Emmer of Minnesota.
Thank you, sir. The whip is recognized.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. After much debate, we can now codify President Trump's effort to prevent the development of a central bank digital currency, or CBDC, and ensure that the United States digital currency policy remains in the hands of the American people and not the administrative state. I'm proud to have my legislation, the Anti-CBDC Surveillance State Act, being considered on the House floor for a vote today. This bill is straightforward. It prevents unelected Washington bureaucrats from creating a financial surveillance tool that, if not done correctly, will fundamentally alter the lives of every American. Unlike decentralized digital assets, a CBDC is a digital form of sovereign currency that is designed, issued, and monitored by the federal government. It is government-controlled, programmable money that, if designed without the privacy protections of cash, this could give the federal government the ability to surveil and restrict Americans' transactions and monitor every aspect of our daily lives. In other words, every dollar you spend, where you spend it, who you spend it with, would all be visible to and tracked by the watchful eyes of Washington. There would be no cash, no anonymity, no space for private financial decision-making. This isn't an inconceivable concept. We have already seen examples of governments developing these types of tools and using them to weaponize their financial systems against their citizens. The Chinese Communist Party employs a CBDC that is being used to monitor and restrict citizens' spending. The data is being used to develop a social credit system that rewards or punishes individuals based on their spending behavior. In Canada, the former Trudeau administration demonstrated the power of federal financial surveillance and control when it froze the bank accounts of hundreds of truckers protesting the COVID vaccine mandate in 2022. Surely, this totalitarian surveillance tool would never take root in the United States. However, that assumption would be wrong. This is not a theoretical risk. It is a very real and very dangerous precedent. Under the Biden administration, financial surveillance was a core tenet of President Biden's policy agenda. In 2022, President Biden issued an executive order placing urgency on CBDC research and development. Moreover, the agency reports created under that executive order made it clear that the previous administration was eager to create a CBDC and was willing to trade Americans' right to financial privacy for a CCP-style surveillance tool. Our bill, the Anti-CBDC Surveillance State Act, prevents future administrations from weaponizing this technology against the American people, while ensuring that any development of digital money reflects our American values of privacy, individual sovereignty, and free market competitiveness. If not designed to be open, permissionless, and private with a capital P, resembling cash, a government-issued CBDC is nothing more than an Orwellian surveillance tool that will be used to erode the American way of life. The federal government has no business monitoring Americans' daily financial lives. We don't need or want a state-run digital dollar with Chinese Communist Party characteristics. We need to protect the core principles that make this country exceptional: liberty, limited government, and the right to privacy. We are on the verge of the next game-changing technological evolution, and we must embrace this push for a more developed digital economy. In doing so, we cannot jeopardize who we are as Americans, and this bill is designed to ensure just that. I want to thank Chairman Hill and Chairman Stile for their tireless work and advocacy on this issue, in addition to the 135 members of Congress who have joined as co-sponsors of our legislation. I urge all my colleagues to support this bill, and I yield back the balance of my time.
Gentleman yields.
Gentleman reserves.
The gentleman reserves. The gentlelady from
I
California
reserve
is
the balance
recognized.
of my time.
The gentlelady reserves.
Let's go. Vote, 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 vote.
The gentleman from Arkansas is recognized.
Thanks, Mr. Speaker. I would like to yield 2 minutes to the chairman of our subcommittee on oversight, Mr. Muser of Pennsylvania.
Gentleman's recognized.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker, and I do thank the chairman of our full committee, Chairman Hill, for his leadership. I do rise in support of H.R. 1919, the Anti-CBDC Surveillance State Act, led by Whip Emmer. This bill is a
Let's go ahead and have some fun right now.
Senator, I'd like to switch gears here as we have this conversation over in the other chamber. There is a vote still open in the House to try to pass a procedural hurdle to move forward with a trio of pieces of crypto legislation, all part of Crypto Week, one being the Genius Act, the stablecoin bill, of course, the Clarity Act, which is a market structure bill, and some anti-CBDC legislation. While the House struggles to find a way forward, you would like to see none of these bills passed, correct? If the Clarity Act comes to the U.S. Senate, you would not be in support.
Look, I want to see us do strong crypto regulation. But what I don't want to do is see the United States government just sign off on very weak regulation that has been written by the industry. The problem with the stablecoin bill and the Clarity bill in particular is that they don't do anything about the Donald Trump corruption that is occurring right out in plain view. They also don't put enough safeguards in place for consumer protection, to make sure that terrorists and human traffickers and drug traffickers can't use the system, and guardrails to make sure that crypto isn't used to blow up our entire economy. So I'm very worried about that, but I want to add one more twist, and that is the Clarity bill has all those problems, but it also has a provision in it that would let any company listed on the New York Stock Exchange.
T21, my dear friend, Chairman Hill worked with Representative Foster to introduce the Central Bank Digital Currency Study Act. Chairman Hill also wrote a letter to the Fed asking for information.
I just want to say this.
And after the
Trump
Fed
is really smart.
Agreed.
Because he knew that as soon... Oh, give me one second. Somebody's calling.
The Fed is finally taking actionable steps to do what we've been asking them to do for 2 years.
My bad. Trump is really smart because he knew if he gets into crypto, as he did vastly, and is doing very well, he's making a bunch of money, right? We know that. Liberty Financial, Truth Social, USD1, Trump Coin, the rest. Democrats have no choice but attack him on that. But if you attack him on that, it's the same story. You're attacking Trump, and every time you attack Trump, you lose. Every time they attack Trump, they lose. So by default, you're not going to win because you're attacking Trump. People are just not going to do research and say, oh, okay, let me see what it's this about. No, they're just attacking Trump once again. So I'm not going to waste my time. It's Democrats are wrong. So Trump is really smart. He knew how to add his name to crypto so they cannot just talk about the bill or what it's inside much because they're using Trump and people don't care.
A central bank digital currency would not only usurp consumers' privacy and individual freedom, but it would also hinder free market innovation. Digital assets are here to stay. I agree strongly with President Trump that the United States should be a leader in this space. However, the last administration held a very different view. They wasted no time exploring ways to set up a surveillance state digital currency, managed and micromanaged by the federal government. President Trump understands the dangers of more government and more surveillance. It's why he issued an executive order prohibiting a CBDC. The vote before the House would make that ban permanent, and I urge my colleagues to support this bill. Mr. Speaker, today the House will vote on the Genius Act, short for Guiding and Establishing National Innovation for U.S. Stablecoins Act. The bill, which was introduced in the Senate by my friend and fellow Tennessean, Senator Bill Hagerty, provides a clear regulatory framework for the issuance of payment stablecoins. Today, this payment product is offered with little, if any, federal oversight. By establishing this regulatory clarity, this bill will drive significant demand for stablecoins. This bill will ensure issuers back stablecoins with high-quality liquid assets, a major win for the American consumer. The Genius Act includes consumer protections and enables innovators to do what they do best. It also happens to strengthen the U.S. dollar's reserve currency status. This will result in the ability to make near instant payments anywhere in the world, which is good for consumers, it's good for companies, and it's good for Americans. Thank you, and I yield.
Gentleman yields.
Mr. Speaker, I reserve.
The gentleman reserves. The gentlelady from California is recognized.
Yet again, my colleague confuses retail and wholesale CBDC. Banning wholesale CBDC is nonsensical. It has nothing to do with surveillance and everything to do with modernizing how American financial institutions and our central bank engage in intrabank cross-border transactions. This suggestion of Big Brother and monitoring is just a fabrication, a boogeyman. We must support financial innovation and not hide from the future. I reserve the balance of my time.
The gentlelady reserves. The gentleman from Arkansas is recognized.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. I'd like to yield 2 minutes to a returning member of the House Financial Services Committee, the gentleman from Indiana, Mr. Stutzman. 2 minutes.
The gentleman is recognized.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman, and thank you to our Financial Services Chairman for his leadership on a really important issue that's going to affect many generations ahead of us. I rise today in strong support of the Anti-CBDC Surveillance State Act. Our founding fathers were clear that Congress, not the executive branch, has the power to coin money and regulate its value. Yet, in 2022, the Biden administration issued an executive order that placed the highest urgency on the research and development of a central bank digital currency, a so-called digital dollar. Under the wrong circumstances, this technology could allow the federal government unfettered access into the wallets of every American, putting privacy and freedom at risk. Unfortunately, us as Americans know all too well how far some administrations are willing to go to intrude into our lives. We all saw how the Biden administration ruthlessly pressured social media platforms to silence the voices of Americans who criticized their disastrous COVID-19 policies. And we saw this same ideology taken to the extreme when Canadian Prime Minister Justin Trudeau froze the bank accounts of Canadians who dared to protest his government during the pandemic. Now imagine if the federal government could see where we spend our hard-earned paychecks, track our charitable donations, or even cut off access to our own money if it disapproves of our beliefs. Any digital dollar must reflect our values of privacy and our First Amendment rights. This bill ensures our digital assets policy is in the hands of the American people, not the administrative state. It protects our values of privacy, individual freedom, and free market innovation by prohibiting a CBDC surveillance tool that could be wielded against the American way of life. I am proud to be a co-sponsor of this important legislation, and I thank Whip Emmer and Chairman Hill for their outstanding leadership on this important issue. I urge my colleagues to support this legislation, and I yield back.
Gentleman yields.
Reserve.
Gentleman reserves. The gentlewoman from California is recognized.
I reserve the balance of my time.
Gentlelady reserves. The gentleman from Arkansas
Thank you,
is
Mr. Speaker.
recognized.
I'd like to yield 1 minute to the great gentleman from the prettiest district outside Arkansas, the gentleman from California, Mr. Collins.
Gentleman's recognized.
Mr. Speaker, the Biden administration started us down the road of adopting a central bank digital currency issued by the Federal Reserve without the consent of the American people or their representatives here in Congress. Today, we are saying no. We are not the Chinese Communist Party. We are not going to turn the central bank of the United States into a giant panopticon capable of tracking and surveilling every American citizen, keeping a watchful eye on each and every one of your financial transactions, crediting or discrediting or punishing you based on your personal behavior, restricting that behavior with the tap of a button. Nothing could be more inimical
Thank you, brother.
to the liberty
Welcome.
and privacy on which American greatness depends. I am proud to be a sponsor of this critical legislation and look forward to its passage on the House floor today. I yield back.
Gentleman yields.
I'll reserve, Mr.
The
Speaker.
gentleman reserves. The gentlelady from California is recognized.
I reserve the balance of my time.
The gentlelady reserves. The gentleman from
Nothing
Arkansas
else to
is
say.
recognized.
Mr. Speaker, I'd like to yield 1 minute to the gentleman, our new member from Wentwell, including the speaker,
We're coming to the end. We're coming to the end of the debate. First, about 3 hours ago, Clarity Act. Second, Genius Act. Number 3, anti-CBDC. That's all I hope they're going to be talking about. And if that's the case, then after this, we should be looking at a vote, the good one, the sexy, really good one. Okay, one of the few, maybe. So, yeah, we're coming to the end of this long and waiting time. Appreciate you guys for being here. Always trying to bring you the greatest, latest news. Drop a like, fam. Consider subscribing to the channel. Turn on those notification bells. Really happy that we have over 6,000 people. More to come as we wait for the vote. And we play some pumping music because I'm ready. I got some more songs, new ones actually. And click the first link down below, guys. Sign up on BTCC. Take a look at the links. I'm always there trying to help you start your journey. Let's do it. Prepare to close.
The gentlelady is recognized.
I have no more. I'm not prepared to close at this time.
What?
Earlier, my colleagues praised our wonderful private sector. And
Bravo.
we know now, my friends do not like
$5
studies,
of July. Yeah,
but
it's possible.
I would encourage him to
It's
read
possible.
the study from our biggest bank, J.P. Morgan Chase, explaining how CBDCs can save $120 billion
And died in the house.
cross-border
Welcome.
payments.
Thank you, brother.
Please read this study. Even if you don't like studies, read it anyway. Thank you very much. I reserve the balance of my time.
The gentlelady reserves. The gentleman from Arkansas is recognized.
I reserve.
Gentleman reserves. The gentlelady from California is recognized.
Thank you. I have no further speakers, and I'm prepared to close. If
The gentlelady
gentleman
is
from
recognized
Arkansas
for
has
closing remarks.
No more speakers. Thank you. I yield myself the balance of the time. The bottom line is that we fall further and further behind global economic stage with congressional Republicans' policies. We are already seeing inflation rise on consumer goods as Trump's tariffs take place. And now Republicans want to raise the cost of auto loans, credit, card fees, and mortgages for Americans by forcing the dollar
Thank you,
to
Amp9.
become a
Appreciate it,
relic
brother.
of the past. That is why I will vote no. And of course, Mr. Himes made a great argument and a great point about ignorance. And he believes that this is an ignorant bill, and it just does not speak well for the members of Congress not wanting to do research and study to determine what is in the best interest of the dollar in our country.
The dollar?
I yield back the balance.
I don't want a dollar.
The gentlelady yields back. The gentleman from Arkansas
Who wants
is recognized.
dollars?
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. I yield myself the remainder of my time. First, I want to say thank you to the members of the House Financial Services Committee and the members of the House Agriculture Committee for all the work that they've put in on both sides of the aisle.
Here it comes.
Significant hours for multiple years, basically the last 3 Congresses, in thinking through what is the future of digital assets, how are they best regulated, what's the role of the United States government in oversight, what's the future of money in terms of the use of a blockchain. And so members in these committees have worked extensively. Likewise, over in the Energy and Commerce Committee, the idea of blockchain technology at large outside financial institutions has garnered a tremendous amount of bipartisan work. This House wants to make sure that we prepare this country for a prosperous, free, open Web3 technology as we go into seeing the benefits of writing applications on a blockchain. We'll see competition in blockchains just as we saw competition in operating systems in computing. And I think that breeds a lot of excitement. But no one can actually do that if we don't have clear rules of the road. We've spent this morning debating those rules of the road, that the Clarity Act that we debated on this House floor provides that market framework for the use of digital assets,
that's the first one.
custodying digital assets, investing in digital assets, or dealing or raising capital around them. It clearly defines what should be treated as a commodity versus what should be treated as a security. We talked about that important payment device on a blockchain for use in that marketplace that's outlined in Clarity, and that's a dollar-backed stablecoin. We want the U.S. to dominate in financial technology and payments, just as we do for the vast majority of payments around the world in dollars, and that is delivered by the bipartisan work in the Senate on the Genius Act. So I want to start by thanking those members, and I also want to recognize the incredibly hardworking staff members on the House Agriculture Committee and the House Financial Services Committee who've worked together unbelievably, capably, cooperatively, effectively over these last two Congresses, just as they did at the height of the cleanup from the financial crisis in 2008, when House Financial Services and the Ag Committee came together to write rules about the swap market. But I particularly want to thank Nick, Jack, Jackson, Lindsay, and Paul on the staff at House Ag. You did great. I want to thank Nick and Allison and our team on House Financial Services for their staff leadership. Mr. Speaker, this bill we're debating today is essential, and the ranking member seems to think that I'm interested in the subject of a central bank digital currency, and I am. And I've spent the better part of the last 5 years studying central bank digital currencies outside the United States, talking to officials inside the United States about whether that's a good idea or a bad idea. And over those years, it's not out of ignorance that I've come to the conclusion that it's a bad idea. And one of the contributing factors to me determining that I don't believe it's an idea whose time has come to supplement private sector innovation in this nation is actually Congressman Jim Himes' white paper that he shared with me years ago. I thought it was well written, and it was another indication that this was not the direction to go in. And since that time, I have visited with other central banks around the world, in Europe and other places, that make me even more certain that we should rely on private sector innovation that in turn can create the tokenized money that we've talked about all morning, but doesn't do it in a way that can surveil your work, take over your life, have the outcomes that you heard from Congressman Davidson, Congressman Emmer, about the examples of debanking that we witnessed in Canada, or the policy debanking we witnessed in the Obama administration, and to a degree the Biden administration. So Americans have made it clear we don't want the federal government controlling how we spend, save, or send our money in our personal lives. We've witnessed firsthand the dangers when government wield that power unchecked, and you heard examples of that this morning. Americans want and deserve control over their own money, and we've tried to institutionalize that in all the work we've done in both of these committees in this digital assets innovation and reform space. We believe in self-custody. I have self-custody in the analog world of cash and investments. Why can't I have that custody, that self-control in my digital financial space? I don't understand why one can't recognize the authorities that we have on our person, constitutionally guaranteed by law, in an analog context, why we can't demand the same.
Welcome,
so I urge
buddy.
my bills to join me in supporting this bill. I yield back the balance of my time.
Thank you, sir. The gentleman has yielded. All time for debate has expired. Pursuant to House Resolution 580, the previous question is ordered on the bill as amended. The question is on engrossment and third reading of the bill. Those in favor say aye. Aye. Those opposed, no. In the opinion of the chair, the ayes have it. The third reading.
A bill to amend the Federal Reserve Act to prohibit the Federal Reserve banks from offering certain products or services directly to an individual, to prohibit the use of central bank digital currency for monetary policy and for other purposes.
The question is on the passage of the bill. Those in favor say aye. Those opposed say no. The ayes have it. The bill is passed.
Mr. Speaker?
For what purpose does the gentlelady rise?
Oh boy.
The yeas and nays.
She didn't know she had to say that?
The yeas and nays are requested. Those favoring a vote by the yeas and nays will rise. A sufficient number having risen, the yeas and nays are ordered. Pursuant to Clause 8 of Rule 20, further proceedings on this question will be postponed.
Okay. We heard debate, clarity, genius, anti-CBDC. Let's see.
Is that Rule 18?
This afternoon. So for them, it's already 12:47. So for them, it's already afternoon. As soon as we start seeing more people come in through those doors, that's when I guess, there's going to be, should be coming in soon. Oh boy. And I decided to come live to talk to you guys like an hour and 40 minutes later when this started, because this is so far 4 hours in. It's 4 hours in. Bunch of debate. And I'm like, wait a second. Plus, in about 20 minutes, we're going to listen to Caroline Levitt, White House press secretary. What's up, gorillas? Thank you, buddy. Welcome. Today, we're going to keep you in the know with everything, as you know, fam. Consider subscribing, turning on those notification bells so you never miss an update when we go live. This is Crypto Week. Out of all the weeks, this is our week. This has to pass so the president can sign it. And at that moment, well, before, of course, by the rumor selling news, but at that moment, it becomes official and to the moon.
Pursuant to House Resolution 580, the Rule and Rule 18, the Chair declares the House and the Committee of the whole House on the State of the Union for further consideration of H.R. 4016. Will the gentleman from North Carolina, Mr. Knott, kindly take the chair?
I'm not an expert here, so we'll just have to figure it out when.
The House is in the Committee of the whole House on the State of the Union for the further consideration of H.R. 4016, which the clerk will report by title.
A bill making appropriations for the Department of Defense for fiscal year ending September 30th, 2026, and for other purposes.
When the Committee of the Whole rose earlier today, amendments in block number 7, printed in Part A of House Report 119-199, offered by the gentleman from California, Mr. Calvert, had been disposed of. The chair understands that amendment number 48 will not be offered. For what purpose does the gentlewoman from Minnesota rise?
Thank you, Mr. Chair. I rise as his designee of the gentlewoman from Connecticut, and I move to strike the last word.
The gentlewoman is recognized for 5 minutes.
Mr. Chair, I yield to the gentlewoman from Ohio, the distinguished ranking member of the Energy and Water Subcommittee, Ms. Capter.
The gentlelady is recognized.
Thank you. Thank you, Mr. Chair. Thanking also Ranking Member McCullough and Chair Calvert. As a senior member on the Defense Appropriations Subcommittee, I'm deeply concerned and disappointed by this legislation. This bill was written before the Department of Defense submitted its budgetary needs for fiscal year 2026. Shamefully, the department still has not provided Congress with a complete request. Thus, we have been brought to the floor to vote on an incomplete bill with no complete executive branch submission. This is not
Context. This one, Genius Act. This one, anti-CBDC. This one, clarity. Now they're doing this one. It's all inside HR 580. So this has to go through, in my opinion, and once debate for this one, HR 416. Once this one passes, or concludes, I think that's when they're gonna vote. I think. All right, I'm waiting for Eleanor too, but I'm gonna have this one open. This is the voting schedule. This is what they just finished talking. HR 3633, HR 1919. That's what they just concluded. 1919 and HS 1582. That was the Genius Act. All right, so this is a perfect segue because right now we're waiting for the White House press secretary. So it's going to start in a few more minutes.
or give me death. He knew liberty's cost and our new nation's responsibility to uphold the values that our European forebears bequeathed to us, ones that focused on representative government. Thomas Jefferson knew America does not exist alone in the globe when he wrote the words, quote, "Our laws, language, religion, politics, and manners are so deeply laid in European foundations that we shall never cease to consider their history."
All right. Boom. DOD has to pass. Once it once this goes through, then we're gonna be looking at a vote. To my recollection, we're waiting on the press secretary address right now, the briefing. All briefings, guys, that would like to go and talk about it. So it's gonna be a long, flexible live, bunch of different things. We'll wait on that.
When the Allied armies joined in battle to reclaim the European continent to liberty, they stood and fought against tyranny in a giant undertaking unparalleled in human history, and they did it together. Mr. Speaker, these quotes and sacrificial deeds of our forebears explain why I rise to express my deep opposition to this bill's irresponsible and short-sighted exclusion of any funding for the Ukraine Security Initiative. Throughout generations, the fundamental purpose of our nation is to guarantee liberty, to develop the kinds of relationships with our democratic allies who stand with us against tyranny in any form, and to fill our constitutional duty to provide for our nation's common defense. Common defense, the Constitution says. Ensuring that the Ukraine Security Assistance Initiative is properly funded is essential to fulfilling our charge in defense of liberty on our watch. If you haven't noticed Ukraine's struggle against the spiderweb of tyranny fostered by Russia, China, Iran, Belarus, and North Korea, it is real and it is lethal. Ukraine is in a historic fight now, not of her own choosing, but for her very survival. And the poorest nation in Europe has fought back mightily against the third largest military in the world after Putin's murderous aggression that began in 2014. Russia and its spiderweb of tyranny are a threat to liberty everywhere, and Ukraine stands on the front line. If support for Ukraine is withdrawn, Russia and its allies' assault on fundamental freedoms will spread. May no one in this generation become swallowed by the tiger, and those that do not know and study history are doomed to repeat it. Proper funding in this bill will boost our domestic defense industrial base and affirm critical security and mineral alliances. It supports our NATO partners, and it is our privilege and, yes, duty to support our allies and the brave people of Ukraine by appropriating funds for the Ukraine Security Initiative. May I request an additional minute?
I have
The gentlewoman may not yield for additional time.
You have to close.
Okay. So
The
my
gentlewoman's
amendment
time
would
has
reinstate
expired.
funding for the Ukraine Security Assistance Initiative, and at
The
the end of the
gentlewoman's
debate, I
time
will
has
insert
expired.
into the record the text of this amendment. Thank you so very much, and I thank everyone for yielding.
All right. Nice break. That was good. That was good. Waiting on this beauty. Perfect. Wait on that one. I'm going to go ahead and bring us some gems from what we were listening right now. Watch it, guru. Oh, this guy, bro. This guy. Honestly, the worst. And there's a list of it.
And guardrails to make sure that crypto isn't used to blow up our entire economy. So I'm very worried about that, but I want to add one more twist, and that is the Clarity Bill has all those problems, but it also has a provision in it that would let any company listed on the New York Stock Exchange opt out of SEC regulation by just digitizing themselves, put themselves on the blockchain, and all of a sudden it turns out that Amazon or Meta or General Motors is no longer governed by the SEC. You do realize that literally would blow up the value of the New York Stock Exchange. That whole system and guardrails to make sure that crypto is.
Yeah, the list of it just continues adding a bunch more fear. That's what they know, right?
Gentleman from Ohio, Mr. Davidson, and member opposed each will control 5 minutes. The chair recognizes the gentleman from Ohio.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. I rise today to urge you and all our colleagues to support Amendment number 57 to the FY 2026 Department of Defense Appropriations Bill. This amendment strikes.
So yeah, I mean, they're the same people that just spoke about crypto and digital assets, but now they, as I explained, they're talking about this one, Department of Defense. Why did they add something defense related to this one? No one knows. But one thing we heard from, got a bunch of windows. One thing that we heard from Eleanor was that, look at this, that they will add some language, anti-CBDC language will be included into the defense bill, right? So what they're talking right now, in that the bill, they're adding some of the anti-CBDC. That's the reason of the holdup from yesterday. You remember that we were waiting like forever because there was issues, right? Republicans. So they're adding some anti-CBDC language in this bill. So this whole thing will have a little bit of crypto everywhere. The White House briefing is about to start too. Fox Business discusses Bitcoin reaching $150,000 within 6 months.
You see Bitcoin rising to $150,000 a coin. And I read your stuff. So when does it get there?
It's going to happen in the next 6 months. And this is the golden age of digital assets, Stuart. What's going to happen is we've seen the rulings come in, and we're seeing everything from the crypto regulations, the ability to get to the Clarity Act, the Anti-CDBC Surveillance State Act, and the Genius Act. They're all coming through, as we heard. The White House cut some deals overnight, and that's really driving the run to Bitcoin. And then the other piece is we're hoping interest rates do come down. And when they do come down, what it does is create a devaluation of the dollar, meaning people are going to go to growth assets and actually risk on activities. So I think that's really why we see 150,000 on the Bitcoin side.
You see
150,000 by the end of 2025. That seems bearish, right? Could go much higher. Could go much higher. So yeah, I think right now everybody is waiting for sure on many things, and that's what we're doing here, guys. So I always appreciate you stay with us. We're like a TV station, you know. We're like a newscast right here. We're always just keeping you in the know for a few hours because I'm a human being, so I get tired. But we had a nice sleep, you know. So we're feeling Gucci. By the way, fam, I want to encourage you to follow me on X because once we get to 100,000 followers, we'll have a nice big giveaway. And if you're on X, you're going to be a part of that. Bullish and bearish people, always.
You don't have to be a genius to know that this bill is an attack on working families. That's why the AFL-CIO says no, and they are scoring it. You don't have to be a genius.
Classic. Oh, what is this? BlackRock applies to add stake into its Ethereum ETF. Nice. Yeah, I mean, one of the reasons that I told you, fam, that I'm also getting some ETH. Not a bad idea, huh? BlackRock files for staking on their iShares ETF. Perfect. Just a matter of time when they actually expand to other different cryptos, right? Not only Bitcoin and Ethereum. Just a matter of time, guys. So the House votes for the Genius Act today. Happened this afternoon. So hopefully after this. Takes a while, you know. The House is set to vote. Okay. Crypto Sensei. Well, not really. They're still talking. Could be after this, right? Because they took a while. It has to be after this. The vote has to come. So it makes total sense. Makes absolutely total sense. Yeah, the final vote is coming, guys. Soon it's coming. Well, I know what I'm gonna do right now, fam. As we wait, and I'm watching live, I need some energy. And I know the perfect place to find it. Drop a like, fam. Consider subscribing to the channel. Turn on those notification bells. Welcome aboard. More people coming, more people pumping. That's exactly what we love. Hope you enjoy. A few new ones. We like the new ones. Still trying that one. Got this one too. There it is. There it is. New. The White House is preparing for the passage of the Genius Act today with a signing ceremony for the industry leaders and the lawmakers being noticed for So tomorrow, we're going live. Let's go. It's going to pass today, fam. We're going to be listening to the White House secretary soon. And then once the DOD finishes their debate, then we're going to go ahead and take a look at the vote. Stay with us, fam. Go grab a snack, something. We won't live. Also got this one. That's in the house. Thank you, brother. I'm night. Appreciate it, buddy. Welcome. Like that one better. DJ Oscar in the house. Pump it up. Pump it up. Get that XRP. And I got a new one too. got different jams. Well, I hope you like some of the new songs that I'm going to be adding taking a few. So you guys are my fam. I'm sharing everything with you. As you know, guys, it's because of you we do this. As we wait for the briefing, the vote, let's get to the usual bangers. Drop a like. Welcome aboard. Crypto Week, baby. Enjoy. Harris in the house. Welcome, buddy. How much you recommend, Oscar? I really like 100,000 XRP. I really, really like 100,000 XRP. I do like it. That's what I've been saying for a long time. Now it gets more expensive now, but it just used to be not that expensive. All you. XRP is about to explode 22 hours ago. All in on XRP is mandatory. It's true. Mitch, welcome, buddy. Just chilling, of course. Just waiting for more bangers as we wait for the vote. We're waiting for this. This is why you're here. This is why I'm here, fam. All right? But we gotta wait. It's the government. Nothing we can do right now. We gotta wait. It's the way it is. When is the exit strategy? Not at $3. Not at $4. Not at $5. Double digits minimum. Minimum double digits, brother. Why would I sell at 3? Chosen. It's called Free Fall by Lupus. Free Fall. Exit strategy is when I retire, my man. Gorillas, thank you, brother. Welcome. You just have to go all in. You just have to go all in. I'm going to eat. I'm gonna see friends. I'm getting out. And all my friends sometimes want to talk about is crypto and how can I help them. It's happening now. Wake up. I'm a little bit curious what she's going to say.
Humanitarian mine action programs, foreign disaster relief for foreign countries and foreign peoples that the American people are having to pay for. And I want to remind everyone, the American people are $37 trillion in debt because of this institution and the way Congress has spent their money. Think about our own national disasters and problems.
Sadly, she voted no for the crypto bill, FY, if you didn't know. Sad but true, one of those Republicans, but it happens. It happens. Not much we can do, only just enjoy the tunes. Any news about Shiba Inu? Not at the moment that I have. What's up, the Corvette? Welcome, buddy. Happy to see you. Great tasting music. I appreciate that a lot. Nah. Luis. Luis. Oh my brother. Everybody, welcome aboard to the Oscar Ramos live boat today. Genius Act in a few more minutes / hour. About to listen to Carolyn Levitt. Tunes are pumping, and the fam is here. Thank you, Luis. No, Kenny. Kenny, I appreciate that a lot, man. You're doing something to me, fam. No way. Oh my. That is why at 100,000 followers on X, we're giving back. That is why I'm doing it, because you guys are surreal right now. That is why we have to give back always. Mansoor! What the? Mansoor! Dude! David in the house. Alicia in the house. No way! Runner up! Dude! I can barely. Turn it up. Leave it. Elias, welcome. David, thank you. Mansoor, are you kidding me? Kenny, very happy to have you here. That's why we do this. And Luis, you're joking, brother. No way. Send it. Give it up to them, guys. Give it up to them. Come on. Unreal. Free fall. Hey, David Experience. Welcome, buddy. Happy to see you. Welcome, welcome. Free fall is called. For real, what's happening right now? Absolutely crazy. Mansoor, where you at? JB, TJ, Ghost, you, Chipper, are you seeing what we have created? Are you seeing it? No way! Look at this. Absolutely. This is what the XRP army does to you. This is exactly what the XRP army does to you. You try to give, you try to give, you try to give all you have, your energy, your time. You wake up early, you go to bed late, you do it, you keep pushing, you keep putting it. And because we're real, you guys see that. Pump it. Unbelievable. Luis. Unreal. Wow. Okay, give me. Wow. Luis and Mansoor and a few others. We're gonna make you mods right now. And insane. Thank you, fam. Thank you, honestly. Let's continue the devastation. Amazing, guys. With you since 2021, XRP Jasmine Crow Bags Pack. To them, and what's up, Matthew? Thank you, brother, for being here. Welcome to the fam. Matthew in the house. Welcome, brother. I like that. Let's go. Can't believe it. Okay, Mansoor and Luis, I need you to type in the chat, please. I need to see you here. Crypto Revenge, what's up, brother? Mansoor and Luis. Amazing. Keep grinding. Blake, what's up, brother? Thank you so much. There you are. Back to work. Have fun, guys. Thank you, Mansoor. Mansoor, you didn't have to, but you did it. Welcome to moderator. That's how I can give back. Luis. Those of us who bought XRP at 50 are celebrating. Argentina, gracias, hermano. Un abrazo. Luis, welcome to moderator. You don't have to do anything. Just enjoy the title. You don't have to do anything. Absolutely anything. GD. Thank you for the first super live. Let's go. Welcome. We're pumping, baby. We're pumping. Crypto guy in the house. Good morning, Oscar. Thank you for all you do in the XRP community. We're going to pump it up 100%. You're becoming my favorite channel. Marshall in the house. Welcome. Air Force. Welcome, buddy. Appreciate it. Oh, we are going to start cooking right now. All of those beautiful XRPs that we bought when everybody was calling on us. Names. This is the best revenge. What is it? Success. That is what it is. Success. Unreal. Unreal. No, Luis, no more, please, Luis. No. That's it. No more, Luis, please. Oh, man. Oh, brother. Luis. That's it. That's the last one. Please. No more, bro. Thank you. No way. No. No, bro. That's it. No more. Please. I think we're working with my AirPods. One side they hype got me hyped up. Let's go. Luis, you're already a mod. I'm gonna get you into my Discord server. DM me on X, please. DM me on X so I can give you the free membership. Lifetime, completely lifetime. You are absolutely insanity, bro. Wow. Luis, what you're doing is historic for the channel. Absolutely historic too. That's incredible. And the pumps continue, guys. They never stop. Waiting for her. We're still waiting for the White House briefing. What did I miss? A bunch of pumping. That's what you miss. If I can ask you one thing, guys, just one. Keep your money with you. No more donations, please. That's it. No more donations. That's it. Thank you. That's the last one. Please, no more. Thank you. Keep that money. That's yours. Buy XRP with that money, please. Keep that money with you guys. Keep that money with you, please. Thank you so much. Nick in the house. Welcome, buddy. Monor. Welcome, buddy. AD. Let's go. I'm finishing my water because I have to breathe of what's going on right now. Yeah, guys, that's it. No more. Please, I beg you, please. That's it. unreal. We got 218 members today. So if you got a membership, shout out to Mansour, shout out to Luis. And Amp Night. Frank in the house, thank you, brother. Welcome. We are gonna see this pass. Manor in the house. Welcome. Oh, you're at the end. I like the sticker. Thank you, buddy. Appreciate it. Welcome. Dancing right now, that's exactly what we like to see. Help us get to 100,000. We're gonna do a massive giveaway and you are gonna be part of it. It's right there, fam. 600 more followers to go. Help us get there. And massive giveaway for you. It's coming your way. Elsa, thank you so much for the kind donation. I appreciate it. Please let that be the last one. You'll take my money. DJ in the house. Welcome, buddy. Happy to see you. Always here for you. Every single day. We don't stop. Oof. This is when you talk about an army and the crypto community, guys. What we're doing here, I was telling my friends, I was telling my team, like, people who want to buy XRP are looking for a place not only to learn, but also to be a part of. And we all are just pitching in, right? My time, your energy, the effort, resources. Understand that we have oh, I like that spinning wheel. Oh my goodness. I tell you, okay, what I'm trying to say is that I'm going to get to those in just a moment. But what I'm trying to say is it's 2025. They're barely getting the frameworks listed, right? Give ourselves 5 more years to 2030. 5,000 people watching this might be 5,000 new millionaires. I'm not kidding, guys. 5,000 new millionaires because we ditched the dollar. Also, we like it and we love that it's the US, but we understand that we don't really have control over it. Or you want something that is going to be the next revolution in the world. It's going to be crypto and digital assets, and that's going to be XRP, that's going to be Ethereum, that's going to be Bitcoin. Bitcoin is going to be reaching $1 million. Ethereum is going to be reaching $10,000. And XRP, I leave that for you in the comments. Tell me now. Love you, Oscar. Thank you for all you do. Leadership gave us Pop Smoker in the house. Kenny, sorry, man, you deserve it. Helps me triple Tiglets, best channel in the house. What's going on, brother? Kenny, welcome. Mothers in the house, Indonesia. Blessings to all. What's up, Marine? Sydney's in the house. Oh, we're still talking. Wow. NC Media in the house. Welcome to the membership today. I remember for the rest of our lives. It's true. Logan, welcome, buddy. Happy to see you. Welcome, welcome. Tripper, JB, TJ, Ghost. Who else of my team is here? Crypto guys, are you seeing what's happening? Are you really seeing what's happening right now? This is getting really real now. God only knows where we're gonna be ending, but the moon. The best channel, XRP doing. What's going on, Bearish? Sometimes I cannot pronounce your name well, guys, because it's I'm not used to that language, but I'm gonna start with the first one. Burr. Justin in the house. Welcome, buddy. Oof. Still waiting for that. This one and the boat. 2 more, and we send it to the moon. Great work, and as always, I've been following since January. You taught me so much about XRP and other crypto. Keep going. We're not going to stop. We're not going to stop. App Night, financial freedom is the goal. Welcome to the future. Thank you, App Night. I appreciate that a lot. 200 pesos. I appreciate that, brother. Man, that is why we're going to do a massive giveaway. Like I'm saying, we're going to do a massive giveaway here. We have to. We have to. We just have to, guys. Woo. Let that music pump it up for you, fam. It's just amazing, bro. We're live for over 2 hours. And we're going to continue. We're going to continue. This is not going to stop, FYI. Verse in the house. Welcome by the XRP. Thank you so much for the kind donation. I appreciate that a lot. I mean, wow. This, it's really next level for sure. But I mean, it's what you would expect with the market right now. I mean, this is exactly what you and I wanted to see. We're seeing it. And, well, you better get ready. This is not going to stop. Thank you, Oscar, for your knowledge. Very intelligent. Thank you, brother. Appreciate that a lot. MN Talk. Eleanor. Okay, got it. What you said. 589 is FUD, not gonna lie. Welcome, buddy Miles. Does XRP have enough tokens? Does XRP have enough tokens for institutional movement considering so many coins are retail? Wouldn't the price have to go up per coin in supply institutions? Yes, bro, they do. That's also a reason why they have the escrow every month. 1 Billy. Be in the house. Welcome, buddy. $5 today. What's up, Miles? $4 p.m. 4 p.m. Wow. It's still peaking. Okay. Gonna be a good one. Whew. So 4 p.m. So that's gonna be about 2 p.m. So about 2 hours from now. Wow. It's gonna take a while. It's gonna take a while. I thought it was gonna be after. Genius said he could see anywhere from 70 to 80 Democrats voting yes. Wow. That's gonna be a long one. When you think that it's gonna be kind of like, what is this? Parity Act now recognizes only 3 blockchains as likely mature under US standards: Bitcoin, Ethereum, and Cardano. Look at this. Bitcoin likely mature, fully decentralized POW for distribution, no central coin. Likely mature, decentralized proof of stake with broad development and public token distribution. Cardano likely mature. XRP ledger not mature. Ripple controls a large portion of the supply and influences consensus. From day one, I started my crypto journey with everyone here. I never look back, never miss a video, post nothing. I learned so much, especially with the Discord. Make sure you're all joined. Thank you so much, Planets. Welcome, bro. Appreciate it. To man, top man, Oscar, always on point, dedicated and on point. Keep it coming. Much love. Thank you, Delish. Thanks so much for the kind donation. Appreciate that. And welcome to the family. Oh, my bad. My bad.
13 billion dollars since President Trump entered office, helping to lead a budget surplus in June for the first time in nearly a decade. We are truly entering a golden age as a result of these pro-growth and America First trade policies. On another matter, yesterday in the East Room, the president was proud to sign the Halt All Lethal Trafficking of Fentanyl Act into law, surrounded by angel families to help finally end the devastating fentanyl crisis that has ravaged millions of Americans. Under the Halt Fentanyl Act, anyone who possesses, imports, distributes, or manufactures any illicit fentanyl-related substances will be subject to criminal prosecution in the same manner as any other Schedule I controlled substance. This legislation will close the loopholes that criminals use to skirt around the law and make it easier for law enforcement to prosecute vicious traffickers who peddle poison in our communities. President Trump has always made tackling the drug crisis a top priority, and this important bipartisan legislation further follows through on that commitment. The complete and total success at our southern border that many in the media in this room continue to ignore is another example of the president keeping his word to families who have lost loved ones due to fentanyl, and it's another win for the American people. Customs and Border Protection just released the final operationalized stats for the month of June, and I must highlight some of these incredible numbers. There were only 6,072 Southwest apprehensions in June, 15% lower than the previous record that this president set in the month of March. To put that in perspective, the Biden administration routinely saw the same number of encounters in a single day, and on many days, that number was more than 10,000 apprehensions at the Southwest border. There were also 0 illegal aliens released along the Southwest border for the second consecutive month in a row. President Trump promised to end the illegal alien invasion, and he has delivered on that promise to the American people in record time. With the border sealed, deportations are ramping up. This past weekend, our brave ICE agents were arresting violent criminal illegal aliens all across the country. ICE Atlanta arrested an illegal alien from Mexico, convicted of attempted rape of a child in North Carolina. ICE Baltimore arrested an illegal alien from Guatemala who was previously convicted for sexual abuse of a minor in Maryland. ICE Houston arrested a criminal illegal alien from Mexico whose previous conviction includes aggravated sexual assault of a child in Texas. ICE Salt Lake City arrested a 32-year-old illegal criminal alien from Mexico who was previously convicted for child abuse and injury. ICE Baltimore arrested a criminal illegal alien from El Salvador convicted in Maryland for possession of child pornography. And ICE San Antonio arrested a criminal illegal alien from Mexico convicted of aggravated sexual assault in Texas. The men and women of ICE are heroes. They are putting their lives on the line every day to get the worst of the worst, these types of criminals, out of our communities and out of our country. And the president continues to strongly have the backs of all ICE agents who are doing their jobs to keep all of us, including everyone in this room, safe. The facility, sorry, 1 second. In other news, following President Trump's bold executive actions protecting American children from irreversible chemical and surgical mutilation, the largest provider of these barbaric practices will now be closing its doors. The facility in Los Angeles, California, is just the latest facility downsizing or eliminating their irreversible and harmful services that feed into the lie that you can somehow change a child's sex. The Biden administration peddled dangerous policies that defied medical science in favor of radical transgender ideology. But President Trump has put an end to that to ensure America's children's innocence is protected and our children can lead healthy and productive lives. Finally, last night, Senate Republicans passed President Trump's $9 billion rescissions package. This will help restore fiscal sanity in our country by rescinding billions in wasteful foreign aid and finally ending taxpayer funding for PBS and NPR, two media organizations that have ridiculously used federal dollars to push a partisan left-wing agenda for many years. The House should pass this rescissions package immediately and send it to the president's desk for signature. On another note, I know that many in the media have been speculating about bruising on the president's hand and also swelling in the president's legs. So in the effort of transparency, the president wanted me to share a note from his physician with all of you today. In recent weeks, President Trump noted mild swelling in his lower legs. In keeping with routine medical care and out of an abundance of caution, this concern was thoroughly evaluated by the White House Medical Unit. The president underwent a comprehensive examination, including diagnostic vascular studies. Bilateral lower extremity venous Doppler ultrasounds were performed and revealed chronic venous insufficiency, a benign and common condition, particularly in individuals over the age of 70. Importantly, there was no evidence of deep vein thrombosis or arterial disease. Laboratory testing included a complete blood count, comprehensive metabolic panel, coagulation profile, D-dimer, B-type natriuretic peptide, and cardiac biomarkers. All results were within normal limits. An echocardiogram was also performed and confirmed normal cardiac structure and function. No signs of heart failure, renal impairment, or systemic illness were identified. Additionally, recent photos of the president have shown minor bruising on the back of his hand. This is consistent with minor soft tissue irritation from frequent handshaking and the use of aspirin, which is taken as part of a standard cardiovascular prevention regimen. This is a well-known and benign side effect of aspirin therapy. And the president remains in excellent health, which I think all of you witness on a daily basis here. So the president wanted me to share that note with all of you. I'm happy to take further questions on it. We will provide the memorandum from the president's physician to all of you, as we always do. And we'll get to questions. Here in our new media seat, we have Frank Corva, who's the White House correspondent for Bitcoin Magazine, which comes at a timely week with crypto legislation moving across Capitol Hill. So why don't you kick us off, Frank?
Your audio is bad.
Thank you so much. We appreciate it, Ms. Levitt.
Sure.
I was curious to hear if the president was in favor of removing any and all language around central bank digital currency.
Their audio sucks.
Maybe as a means to get it across the line and get it on his desk. And then my second question was about something the president spoke about in this room. He talked about a $600 de minimis tax exemption for Bitcoin and other crypto spending. So I was just wondering if you could comment on those.
Sure. Well, the president did signal his support for a de minimis exemption. Support.
It's the same.
To it to make crypto payments easier and more efficient
Well, there you
for
go.
those who seek to use crypto as simple as buying a cup of coffee. Of course, right now that cannot happen, but with the de minimis exemption, perhaps it could in the future, and we will continue to explore legislative solutions to accomplish that. As for the central bank digital currency and the Genius Act, which you noted has passed through Congress and will be sent to the president's desk. I believe the House is voting on it. If they haven't, they should be passing it. We know we have the votes, and we expect to get to the president's desk, and we are planning a signing ceremony tomorrow afternoon. All of you will get more details on that. This piece of legislation is going to make America the crypto capital of the world, and that's what the president promised. As for a central bank digital currency, the president opposes that. He made that promise to the American people on the campaign, and while it's not in this specific piece of legislation, he did sign a January executive order banning a central bank digital currency. The administration supports Congress's efforts to codify that executive order into law, and I believe there will be future pieces of legislation in regards to crypto that will be moving through Capitol Hill. The president looks forward to signing them, and he looks forward to the signing ceremony this afternoon. So thank you for being with us today. Sure. Jackie.
Thank you, Caroline. There's been a lot of discussion about the Epstein files and the president's comments yesterday calling it a hoax. Can you clarify which part of the Epstein hoax is the hoax part?
The president is referring to the fact that Democrats have now seized on this as if they ever wanted transparency when it comes to Jeffrey Epstein, which is an asinine suggestion for any Democrat to make. The Democrats had control of this building, the White House, for 4 years, and they didn't do a dang thing when it came to transparency in regards to Jeffrey Epstein and his heinous crimes. It was this president who directed the Department of Justice and the Attorney General to do an exhaustive review of all files related to Jeffrey Epstein, which they did. The Attorney General and the FBI, led by Pam Bondi, Dan Bongino, Kash Patel, these are great patriots, some of the most trusted voices in the Republican Party movement. It's part of the reason the president appointed them to these high law enforcement positions, and they spent many months going through all of the files related to Jeffrey Epstein, and they concluded what they found in that memo, which they drafted and they released. And so the president has been transparent. He has followed through on his promises to the American people, but he doesn't like to see Democrats and the mainstream media covering this like it's the biggest story that the American people care about. The president has been working so hard this week. On Tuesday, he went to Pennsylvania, where he secured $90 billion in investments for the Commonwealth, for the people of that state. After that, he came back to the Oval Office at 8 p.m. He went in there to whip votes to get the Genius Act signed into law. And because of his efforts, that bill is now going to be signed and passed. The following day, yesterday, he meets with a foreign leader, the King of Bahrain, to secure more investments into this country. And then yesterday afternoon, the president is in the East Room of the White House mourning with parents who have lost their children because of fentanyl, signing a bipartisan piece of legislation. And not a single cable network in this country took that event live and covered that event like they should. Those are the issues the president cares about. What could be more important to the American people than helping families who have lost their children? Those are the issues this president is going to remain focused on.
I understand you want to move on from this story, but you do have some prominent figures, including the Senate Majority Leader, the House Speaker, voicing support for the files to come out. Representative Massey collecting signatures that would force a discharge petition for a vote on the floor for this. It doesn't seem to be going away. What is stopping the administration from just redacting any sensitive information, grand jury information, and putting out what is appropriate so that the American people can decide and then let this story die?
Well, in terms of redactions or grand jury seals, those are questions for the Department of Justice. Those are also questions for the judges who have that information under a seal. And that would have to be requested, and a judge would have to approve it. That's out of the president's control. He has said, in agreement with some of the leaders on Capitol Hill, that if the Attorney General and the Department of Justice come across any other credible evidence, they should provide that to the American people. The president has said that, and he agrees with them on that.
Why did he fire Maureen Comey?
The Department of Justice did, and I would defer you to them. Dasha.
Has the White House been directly in touch with some of the MAGA influencers that are still not satisfied with the administration's handling? And has the message to them been similar to what the president has said, which is sort of either let this go or we don't need your support?
Well, look, the president and this team are always in contact with the president's supporters with voices of many kinds on both sides of the aisle. I think that's part of the reason this president is a great president, because he's willing to listen and hear other people's perspectives. But ultimately, he has led this country, not just over the past 6 months to historic success, but also through his first 4 years as president. And as the leader and the creator of the MAGA movement, he has led through these perilous times for our country based on instinct and in the best interest of the country. And as I always say, the American people should trust in President Trump.
John,
go ahead, John.
Thanks a lot, Caroline. The president on Monday announced that if there's not compliance with Russia within 50 days, there would be increased tariffs. Can you explain how that works? First of all, what happens if Russia doesn't end its war with Ukraine in 50 days?
Well, in 50 days, as the president clearly laid out, if there is not a ceasefire agreement or a peace deal within that time frame, if Russia refuses to legitimately agree to a ceasefire, then they will face very steep tariffs and they will also
Let's
face
go.
secondary sanctions. So countries that are purchasing oil from Russia will be sanctioned as well, and of course that will do deep damage to Russia's economy. And I would just add that the president wants this war to end with a diplomatic solution. He's been pushing for it. This administration has spent many hours and a lot of time trying to solve this war very far away, but the president wants to stop the killing and he wants to save lives. Reagan, go ahead.
What you were saying, Caroline.
Reagan, go ahead.
I have two questions. It's just about, if I may, just about the tariffs, the first part. I get the secondary tariffs, but there was only $3 billion worth of trade between the U.S. and Russia in 2024. It's expected to be far less this particular year. On April the 2nd, both you and the Treasury Secretary said it's not necessary to apply any tariffs on Russia. You said that because of the lack of trade, it precludes, that was the word you used, any need for tariffs. Why now, and why do you think that that would make them cave and come to some sort of peace agreement as it relates to Ukraine?
$3 billion is still a lot of money, John, and it's not just tariffs, it's the secondary sanctions as well that will be implemented in 50 days. Reagan.
I have two questions for you.
Sure.
First on Congress. Congresswoman Salazar introduced legislation that would give some illegal immigrants in the country a path to citizenship. 10 Republicans signed on to what she's calling the Dignity Act. I'm curious what the White House's position is on the legislation and if the president would veto this bill if it made it to its desk.
From my understanding, the White House nor the president has actually read through this legislation. We've been focused on, of course, the One Big Beautiful Bill, which passed, which is another historic accomplishment of this president in record time. The Genius Act this week, the rescissions package, that's been the focus of the White House. But the president has made it very clear he will not support amnesty for illegal aliens in any way.
I want to give you a chance to respond to the CEO of NPR. She's claiming that the cuts to their network will, quote, be a real risk to public safety of the country. Murkowski has argued that public broadcasting stations save lives. Could you respond to these concerns?
The NPR CEO said cutting NPR will be a risk to public safety. I am not sure how NPR helps the public safety of our country, but I do know that NPR, unfortunately, has become really just a propaganda voice for the left. Just a few examples for you. In 2020, NPR refused to cover the Hunter Biden laptop scandal in the run-up to the election. They said their assertions don't amount to much, writing they did not want to waste the listeners' and readers' time on stories that are just pure distractions. That does not sound like an unbiased opinion. That sounds like a partisan opinion to me. And this is a taxpayer-funded organization. In 2018, that same CEO that you're talking about called the president in the Oval Office, who nearly 80 million Americans elected, she called him racist, shared a photo of herself wearing a Biden for President campaign hat, serves on the board of a Soros-funded activist group. In 2020, PBS's White House correspondent at the time characterized President Trump's speech then at Mount Rushmore as a love letter to white resentment, promoting the myth of America. In 2017, PBS devoted an entire panel talking about what it means to be woke and white privilege. In 2023, PBS's Washington Week Roundtable covered up Joe Biden's clear mental divide. That's actually quite the clip. I would encourage all of you to look at it. These are not honest news organizations. These are partisan, left-wing outlets that are funded by the taxpayers. And this administration does not believe it's a good use of the taxpayers' time and money. Ed Lawrence.
Yeah, thanks, Carol. I want to ask you about the Federal Reserve. So does the president believe that the slightly restrictive monetary policy stance right now, could that cause an economic slowdown? And if he does believe that, when?
What pause are you referring to?
No, could the stance of the monetary policy is slightly restrictive? Does the president believe that that stance, the slightly restrictive stance, could cause an economic slowdown in itself?
I haven't heard the president discuss that specifically, but what I do know in regards to the Federal Reserve is the president's been very transparent about his displeasure with both the policies and the management of the Fed, and he spoke about that to all of you pretty extensively in the Oval Office yesterday.
And last month, one more if I could. Last month, the Canadian Prime Minister said the president had agreed to a July 21st deadline to sort of work towards a trade agreement. That's 4 days from now. Could there be a trade agreement with Canada in 4 days?
Well, look, we'll see. The trade team continues to be very active in our conversations and discussions with Canada. The president himself has said, unfortunately, our neighbors to the north have been pretty difficult to deal with when it comes to matters on trade. But in trade, generally speaking, as you know, 25 countries have received letters thus far from the president directly with his big, beautiful signature on them, from Japan to Korea, South Africa, Kazakhstan, Malaysia, just a few countries, and Canada also received a letter for 35%. With that said, if countries want to have legitimate further discussions, the Trump administration and the president's trade team are willing to have further talks, but these letters these countries have been receiving are the deals. And as the president has said, those deals will be made. They are tailor-made to each and every country based on the United States' concerns and what's in the best interest of the American worker and the American people. Charlie, go ahead.
Thank you, Caroline.
No, I called on Charlie, but Deanna, you can go ahead too. Go ahead.
The president said that he floated the idea of a special prosecutor in the Epstein case. Can you confirm that? And has he asked the Attorney General to do this, to appoint a special prosecutor to look it over?
Well, the idea was floated from someone in the media to the president. The president would not recommend a special prosecutor in the Epstein case. That's how he feels. And as for his discussions with the Attorney General, I'm not sure. Deanna.
Caroline. Thank you so much. Do you know what the president's reaction was to Mike Johnson saying that he wants additional files released, the Epstein files? Was there a conversation with Mike Johnson about that following his comments?
I won't discuss the president's private conversations with the Speaker of the House, but as I answered to Jackie's question earlier, the president has said if the Attorney General and the Department of Justice and the FBI have any more credible evidence in regards to Jeffrey Epstein's crimes, they should put that forward. He has called on them to do that. Sure.
Thank you, Caroline. With a few days.
I'll go to all of you, starting with the lady in the blue. Go ahead.
With a few days to the
Be back.
August 9th deadline, how are the negotiations with Europe going? There's some sticking points. What are they? Can we expect a delay, or should we expect a deal soon?
Well, I believe the deadline is August 1st. As for the European Union, they continue to be very eager in negotiating with our country for obvious reasons on ways to lower their tariff and their non-tariff barriers that we have long said harm our workers and our companies. So the president's trade team continue to be in talks with the European Union.
Would he accept, or would he put forth a postponement of the August 1st?
He's already said he will not.
Caroline,
Owen, go ahead.
Good afternoon, Caroline. In Gaza today, Holy Family Catholic Church was struck by an Israeli shell.
Yes.
3 people were killed, 10 wounded. What is the president's reaction to that church coming under fire?
It was not a positive reaction. He called Prime Minister Netanyahu this morning to address the strikes on that church in Gaza, and I understand the Prime Minister agreed to put out a statement. It was a mistake by the Israelis to hit that Catholic church. That's what the Prime Minister relayed to the President, and you should look at the Prime Minister's statement that will be coming out. Steve, go ahead.
Back to your letter that you read at the beginning.
Sure.
The President, you said mild swelling in his legs. Is it causing him any discomfort? How are you treating it?
Nope. No discomfort from the president at all, and you probably all see that on a day-to-day basis. He's working around the clock. As for the treatments, I can defer to the president's physician, and we'll get you this letter. I think it will answer all your questions.
There are reports that a Chinese-born banker who works in Atlanta for Wells Fargo is being prevented from leaving China. Has the president, is he going to bring this up with President Xi? Are you aware of the case?
I'm not aware of the case, but I'm sure our National Security Council team is. Steve will get you some answers on that.
Caroline.
Kristen.
Thank you, Caroline. 2 questions. So the first is that President Trump said that the Attorney General only gave him a brief overview of what was in these Epstein files. Does he have knowledge or an understanding of what is in the files related to Epstein that have not been released?
Not to my knowledge, and that's a question for the Attorney General, as I said, and the President has told the Attorney General if they have any more credible evidence, they should release it.
Is that evidence, would she have to run that by the President before she released it?
I don't think so. He said if she has any more credible evidence, she should release it.
You're on.
Go ahead.
Thank you.
Go ahead, yes.
Great. Thank you, Caroline. 2 questions. One, today...
And you can go ahead, Andrew. Don't worry.
Today, tens of thousands
Folks are rallying nationwide to honor the legacy of Congressman John Lewis. Meanwhile, Republicans in Texas reportedly are working to redraw congressional maps at President Trump's urging. How is President Trump reconciling his call to action for Texas Republicans with the legacy of Representative John Lewis?
I'm not quite sure how the two things are related. I think the president would agree that John Lewis served our country for many, many years. It has nothing to do with the redistricting efforts that are currently underway by Texas Republicans to add seats to their legislature. They have the right to do that. The president spoke to the congressmen and women who serve the great state of Texas about it, but it's up to them and it's up to their legislature to get that approved.
And Caroline, just a second question.
Go
Does
ahead.
the president support the Justice Department's request for just 1 day in jail for the officer convicted in Breonna Taylor's killing? And what message does he believe that sends to her family and to other families seeking justice in cases of police violence?
I haven't talked to the president about that case. Go ahead.
Just the president, when the president met the interim president of Syria a couple of months ago, he described him as a young, tough, attractive guy. After the latest clashes in Syria over the last few days, does President Trump still support Syria's interim president?
The president still supports Syria's pathway to a peaceful and prosperous country, and you received an update directly from the Secretary of State on the ongoing situation between Syria and Israel. I spoke to him myself this morning to get an update, and as soon as the United States became involved in this conflict, we were able to de-escalate, deconflict. That seems to be continuing. Syria agreed to draw back their troops that were in the area where that clash was ongoing, and we continue to be very actively monitoring the situation. The president wants to see Syria become a prosperous and stable country, and by the lifting of the sanctions on Syria, he's giving them a real chance to do that, and he wants to see that through. Andrew, go ahead.
So on Tuesday, the president told a very detailed story about his uncle, noted scientist John Trump, and Theodore Kaczynski, the late Unabomber. He said that Dr. Trump taught Ted Kaczynski. Ted Kaczynski was not identified as the Unabomber until 1996, 11 years after John Trump passed away. It would have been impossible for John Trump to have ever discussed the Unabomber with the president. So what was he talking about? And I have one follow-up.
Andrew, with so many issues going on in the world, I'm a little bit surprised you would ask such a question, although I'm not sometimes coming from you, I will say, but I'm willing to give you an answer. Nevertheless, the president's uncle did, in fact, teach at MIT. He was a very intelligent professor. The president's very proud of his family. In fact, the president has a letter from his uncle on the MIT letterhead that sits in the Oval Office dining room. Maybe we'll let you see it sometime.
And then
Elizabeth.
Caroline, one more on.
Elizabeth,
will the
go
president consider pardoning Ghislaine Maxwell
Elizabeth,
if the Epstein case is a hoax?
Okay, I'll start off with the president said last week he would not be getting involved in the New York City mayoral case. If that mayoral race, if that's still the case, given his history drawing a large crowd in New York City, what's his reason for staying out of it in that way?
Well, look, I think the president reserves the right to get involved in races or not get involved in races, and he's made the decision not to weigh in on the New York mayoral race, as you rightly pointed out, although he has gone as far to say he absolutely does not want to see Zemdami elected, who is a known communist who supports the abolishment of private property, the defunding of police. He has made very well-known anti-Semitic statements. It would be a disaster for New York and for this country, and I think it's quite telling that this individual, a known communist, has been spending time in Washington this week meeting with leaders on Capitol Hill. This is truly where the Democrat Party is headed. Clearly, they learned nothing from November 5th in the president's overwhelming victory. Mary, go ahead.
Thank you, Caroline. I want to backtrack to the hospitals that have stopped providing transgender surgeries and hormones for kids. On this front, does that have anything to do with the DOJ's subpoenas last week? Should we expect any more hospitals be shutting down their programs? And I wanted to also ask what you make of all these media reports, especially the AP, which I noticed, which portrays these children as losing something that's saving their lives.
Yes, I think the president spoke a lot about this issue, which is a political issue, but also really a cultural issue that impacts children and families. He talked about it a lot on the campaign, and I think he was quite surprised by the uptick we were seeing in the embracement by the Democrat Party when it comes to the chemical castration and mutilation of young, innocent bodies. And so the president made it a very early priority to sign very strong executive orders to cut off the funding for any hospital or any medical facility in this country that provides such barbaric procedures. And as a result of that strong policy and the president's strong common sense position on this issue, we've had such an overwhelming response, which is great for children in Arizona. Phoenix Children's Hospital has stopped providing puberty blockers and hormone therapy to minors. In California, Stanford Medicine ended sex change surgeries for minors. Children's Hospital Los Angeles is closing its Center for Trans Youth Health and Development surgical program. In Illinois, Lurie Children's Hospital Chicago stopped sex change surgeries. Again, let's think about what we're talking about here. Sex change surgeries for minors. These are barbaric practices that no child, innocent child, should have to endure. And the president wants to protect the innocence of children, and I know the vast majority of Americans support him in that effort. This is a wildly popular and common sense endeavor this administration has taken, and we've seen many of these medical institutions have followed through with the president's executive orders, but we'll continue to take further action on this important issue. Garrett.
I too, if you'll indulge me.
Sure.
On the rescissions package, I wonder what the White House makes of this theory that it increases the odds of a shutdown. The theory is basically, why would any Democrat vote for a bipartisan spending deal with Republicans if Republicans can turn around and claw the money back the next day?
Look, $9 billion worth of crap that it was in our federal funding that is now being rescinded. This is a good thing for the American people and the American taxpayer, and I think our Office of Management and Budget Director was saying this process should be more bipartisan. Democrats, there was a time in this country where Democrats too cared about getting rid of waste, fraud, and abuse in our federal spending. I think every American agrees the government spends way too much money on things that don't matter. Some of those things include PBS and NPR, or for instance, the Democracy Fund, which was funded to the tune of $83 million through the Department of State, but they were giving hundreds of thousands of dollars for gender equality and empowerment hubs in Yemen, $3.9 million for strengthening information integrity, equality, and democracy for LGBTQI population of the Western Balkans. These are not good uses of the taxpayer funds, and Republicans are proud to lead that effort, and we wish more Democrats would join us in that.
I wanted to follow up on the Maureen Comey question just to clarify. Did the White House have any knowledge, or did the president sign off on her firing?
This was a decision that was made by the Department of Justice.
There was an agreement that was made between Immigration and Customs Enforcement and the Centers for Medicaid and Medicare Services regarding access to Medicaid information for 92 million Medicaid recipients around the country. That includes health information. So how does that not violate HIPAA violations and privacy concerns, for example, of American citizens?
I'm going to have to defer you to Immigration and Customs Enforcement on that. I'm unfamiliar with that agreement that they made.
Thanks, Caroline. Two questions. Russ Vought said today he's going to be looking into cost overruns in the Fed's renovation projects. Is there a deadline for him to come back with findings to the president?
I don't believe there's a deadline the president has set for Russ Vought, but I think, again, this is a good use of taxpayers' time to look into this project that is millions and millions of dollars over budget. It's for a big, beautiful mansion for the federal chairman, reserve chairman, and I understand that it costs much more than it did the beautiful palace that many of you joined us at when we went overseas. So it's completely unnecessary, it's overpriced, and I think it's a good thing the administration, led by the president, is looking into it.
If there ever were to find wrongdoing or fraud, would the president reconsidering firing Jerome Powell?
Look, it's a hypothetical question. We'll see where it goes. The president spoke about how he feels on this matter yesterday.
Sure, thank
Go
you
ahead.
so much, Caroline. So we saw Ambassador Huckabee arrive to Prime Minister Netanyahu's trial to show his support. Does the president plan to impose any kind of sanctions against the Israel judicial system?
I don't have any update for you on that or any announcement on that front. I don't believe so.
Does the president believe that justice has been served in the Epstein case?
Look, the president believes that he directed the Department of Justice to do an exhaustive and thorough review, and they did that. And they all agreed, the FBI director, the deputy FBI director, the attorney general, on the memo that they drafted and they released.
Thank you, Caroline. Just a follow-up on Reagan's question. Representative Salazar's bill
it grants illegal aliens with legal status for 7-year increments. It also gives permanent path to residency for so-called dreamers. And, you know, President Trump and Labor Secretary Chavez, who previously co-sponsored a version of this bill when she was in the House, they've spoken about a work deal similar to the bill, I believe. What's the difference between a work deal and amnesty?
Look, as I told Reagan, the president, the White House have not reviewed this specific piece of legislation. It's just not where our focus has been. But the president, for one, has been very clear he does not support amnesty. We'll go to, oh, look at some friends in the back. Brian, go ahead. You didn't show up early enough to get some good real estate up here.
I love it. Any update on the auto pen? I know that there was the DOJ and some others were looking into the thousands of documents that were signed off just before Joe Biden left office. Any update on the auto pen?
Yes. I'm not laughing at you. I'm just laughing at how far away you are, and you're going to need to get some microphones back there. And the auto pen investigation, yes. The White House counsel's office has launched their own investigation into former President Biden's usage of the auto pen. We have requested some documents from the National Archives, and again, as I've said many times from this podium, and the president has said as well, it's incredibly important that we get to the bottom of who really was at the tip of the spear in the decision-making process here in the White House, because former President Biden himself admitted to the New York Times, I understand he never gave interviews when he was here, but now all of a sudden he wants to give one, and he said that he did not actually review every single pardon that he signed on his way out the door. That's incredibly concerning, and I can tell you it's something this president would never tolerate. This is a president who is signing things all the time. Any document that has legal implications, this president's signature is on it because he's the one making the decisions. It does not appear that was the truth in the previous White House, and I know the American people want to receive answers on who was running the show because the decisions that were made in this place really destroyed our country.
Welcome to Surrey.
We deserve to get to the bottom of it. Mark, in the back.
Thanks. Some Christian groups are complaining that they are not able to get visas as quickly to travel to Israel, and it's been elevated to Ambassador Huckabee's station. Is the White House aware of that? Does it have any reaction to that? And is that part of the president's disappointment with Netanyahu and his government?
Look, I'm not aware of that, Mark, but I'm sure, again, our National Security Council is, and also the State Department, as you know, travel visas roll through Secretary Rubio's shop over there, whom we work very closely with. So we will check in on the matter. But I know overall, this president and the administration do want to streamline the visa process to make it easier for both Americans who want to travel abroad and people abroad who want to come to our country the legal way. Sure. Go ahead. I was going to the gentleman above you, but go ahead, Libby, and then you can go.
Okay, two questions for you. The first is, during the Whole Nation Summit, Secretary Noem suggested there could be some changes to TSA's liquid limits.
Mm-hmm.
Is the president aware of that? Is that an idea that he's backing? And what would that timeline and the changes look like?
Sure. I would defer you to the Department of Homeland Security, but I did see Secretary Noem's comments, and I think it's great that on day one she asked TSA, what are we doing right? What are we doing wrong? How can we make air travel more efficient while maintaining utmost security for American passengers and travelers? And I know they announced...
So, fam, I have a plan because I'm a human. I'm a human. So, 3 p.m. That means like an hour from now plus. Tomorrow, Trump is going to sign it at 2:30 p.m. Eastern. That is 1:30 p.m. our time here. So they finished talking. Very, very nice conversation. There's a lot of content. We love the content. They're still talking about, that stuff. So it's gonna at least like another hour from now. So that gives me time, which is what I need. For what? To rest. Everybody, 3-hour live. We just finished a 3-hour live. And I just want to say thank you. Thank you. We got 11,000 votes. Which party is the party of crypto in the U.S.? Republicans with 60%. I mean, we got a really nice sample size. So we got a nice sample size. So I'll leave that with that. Fam, thank you is not enough. Thank you is not enough. That is why I'm doing a nice giveaway once we get to 100,000 followers. So if you want to be a part of it, follow us on X so you can hear that. I'm going to go ahead and take a break because I need it. Hopefully when I come back, I mean, it's going to take a while. Typically, you know, it might take, I don't know, an hour or maybe later, who knows. But I'm going to let this go. I'm going to let this finish. I'll take a break and then I'll come back and watch that together, okay? Thank you, guys. Get ready for more pumps. Let's close this one up. 3-hour perfect timing. What a craziness. And I'm going to go ahead and fix this sound because I noticed the comments. It's too loud, you know, the member alert. I'm going to fix that for the next one. If we have the blessing of someone because there's 200 members, it's going to go it's going to go and go and go, and it's annoying, right? So no worries. I'm going to lower the volume so it's not that annoying for you, fam. I look at the comments. Thank you, guys. Love you all. Drop a like. I want to take a break. I need it. God bless. Let's go. Peace.